Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's the 29th of August, 2025, and I'm Kerry Holzman. Today, we're going to look at a mini PC from our friends over at Reatan that is right towards the upper edge of mini PCs, but definitely in the mid-range price point. And then we also have this NVMe drive from GiGiMundo. I've never heard of them before. I think they might be the same as a Ricoh, but I'm not sure. This one has a built-in heatsink. It's Gen 4, and it's very aggressively priced. And we're going to take a look at, well, we've got the Reatan here. We see we can slot this in and just check out its performance and compare it to what you get from the regular base install hardware on this mini PC. For some people, it may be worth an upgrade, and for others, probably what's in here is more than enough for most people. First and foremost, happy birthday to our friend Peter Laycock, or Buster, as we call him here. His 74th birthday is right now. Please, if you're in the chat room, say happy birthday to our friend Buster. I swear, he's got one of these every year with the birthdays. Hello, everyone joining us and hanging out on this Friday. It's Friday. Come on, it's Friday. Let's see, we've got Robot saying hello. Scott is joining us. I also see Eddie Casanova, Dustin Fuller, 3D Everything, Andy W6AD, Luke Greeny and Bike Man say hello. There's also John Williams and David Graham. I see Ben Laird joining us, also from Scotland. Both he and Buster, they're in Scotland. Thomas MacT says hello. Dennis Kilo Fox Zero Rel says hello. And I also see Richard DeFries, Jonathan Fells, CFWW joins us. And who else do we have in the chat? Chris Johnson, our friend Rick Lakes, and, well, all of you are our friend. Some of your names I recognize, well, most of your names I'm recognizing at this point as we've become this very well-established community here of like-minded and kind individuals, which, by the way, we always have room for more like-minded, kind individuals. If you want to join us and interact with us, it's so much more than you get from most other YouTube channels, especially in tech, that if you understand the rarity of it, then you'll certainly appreciate our unique offering here and the amazing support and kindness from our community, which we would love to have you a part of. Let's see, what else do we have? Who else do we have? RGL 2025 says, everybody have a safe and blessed holiday. Yes, it is the 3-day weekend here in the USA for Labor Day. This also marks the Burning Man week. Burning Man runs every year in the high desert in Nevada, Black Rock City, as they call it, the week ending in Labor Day. So they've had a rough go of it this year. It was 36 hours. I think the first 36 hours on Monday, starting Monday, were all dust storms and heavy winds. People's tents were getting ripped out of the ground, severe winds, ripping their tents out of the ground and blowing them across the playa. People were just holding on, hoping things just didn't blow away. And then Tuesday was a little bit of that Tuesday. Wednesday, lots of rain. Yesterday, lots of mud. Rain stopped, but the whole desert is wet. So when you walk around, the mud grips onto your shoes. And the more you walk, the heavier your shoes get. Well, they're real messy. Maybe today things will look up. The big day's over at Burning Man Friday, Saturday. They will burn the man on Saturday night. There's a big fireworks thing. You can probably stream it live here on YouTube or watch it from previous years. It's really neat now. People have drones and they're flying them over Burning Man, and it's almost like being there without all of the weather and the heat and rain and mud. Anyway, I'm not missing it this year, let me tell you. It looks like a very much a challenge, but you know, sometimes like the news will report about, oh, you know, how bad Burning Man is this year. And it's like, no. That's Burning Man is about ultra. What's the word? Can't think of what it is now. It's about self-reliance in an extreme way and self-expression in an extreme way. So can't think of what the word is they use. But the idea is that it's almost like Survivor meets an artist community camp. Nothing's allowed for sale. It's all a gift community. And it's getting more and more expensive every year to go, which doesn't make any sense to me. And there's like 70,000 people that are going to be there this year. They don't maintain 70,000 people in all 7 days. It builds up to Friday and Saturday. People start leaving on Sunday, and technically it doesn't end till Monday. So I would stay till Monday or Tuesday. But regardless, it's a fun event, and it's really just as much about surviving in the desert on your own. And when you pack up, you don't leave any trace that you were ever there. Don't leave anything behind. Whatever you packed in, you pack it out. And weather's hot, weather's rainy, weather's tough, weather's windy. It is extreme survival conditions. And the idea is that that you're getting away from the society that we know here, the capitalistic society with all the rules. There's still rules, don't get me wrong. There's still police. Same rules apply. But overall, it's not about what you're selling or how much of it you can sell. It's just really about community. Radical, that's the word they use. Radical self-reliance and radical self-expression. So in any event, yeah, that'll be wrapping up on Monday, Labor Day, which is our 3-day weekend of federal holiday on Monday. So anything government or financial related will be closed. Shipping, all that stuff will all be shut down here on Monday in honor of the holiday. I mention that because we have a lot of viewers that watch us from other countries and may not know that or know what it is. Mark Gaines says hello, joining us from Northern Ireland, as well as Jim Kenny saying hello. There's John. F9M3L says hello. Caniac44 says hello here in the chat room. I also see Nick Caffrey, who's now a member for 20 months. He says, really? Has it been that long? 20 months is just like still a newborn baby. You're fine. Thank you for supporting us for 20 months. And let's see, Bill Sony T says hello. Dazzle555, I see in the chat room. There's Anthony SF saying hello. I see a lot of happy birthdays to our friend Buster. Don't worry, I won't sing it. I wouldn't do that to you. Paul Vercher says hello. There's Maria Verwell says happy birthday to Buster. Gary Bickle joining us here in the chat, and Maria Angelis Captain Brazo says hello in the chat. And I think I got everybody. Zub-Zero says hello. Okay, Doman 2000 says hello. All right, I hope I got everybody. Let's get to the meat of the matter. We've seen a few other machines from Reatan. Reatan is just another mini manufacturer who is somewhere between brand-wise. They are lesser known than, let's say, some more popular brands. They're not as popularly known. However, they are more popular than most mini PC brands available, like on Amazon. So we've grown to expect a certain level of quality from Reatan. And so anytime Reatan reaches out to us, we're always very eager to take a look at their latest offering. Because if they're just getting better and better, and they already were good before, of course, why would I not be interested in seeing their latest offerings? And prices keep going down. You keep getting more for your money. But this is tech. This is the way it's been since it all started. Let me grab let me grab my glasses and tell you a little bit about what we've got here today. This is an AMD Ryzen 7. It's a 7840HS, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage. It's Wi-Fi 6E with 2.5 gig LAN. It's a 19 volt, 6.3 amp power input. And yeah, okay, I was just checking to see if I had plastic wrap on this. And yeah, so what I want to do is take a look at the Amazon page and take a look at how this is being promoted, and then we'll compare it to what we've got. A lot of times in previous videos, when you see us looking at brands that we've never seen before, there's a lot of typos or misinformation in their Amazon descriptions, and we do our best to help them. We're not trying to put these little companies down, but make them aware of their mistakes. We assume their mistakes, give them a chance to correct them, because we want to see everybody succeed, unless they're trying to get away with something. And that's why, you know, when I look at companies like Reatan and I say, hey, let's go look at the Amazon page, I don't expect there to be anything misrepresented. All right, but when we're dealing with an unknown brand, it's kind of a roll of the dice. So I expect everything we're about to see on the Amazon page is accurate, but let's just verify that right now. So in the links below this video are the links both to the mini PC and to the GiGiMundo that we're going to be looking at here, the NVMe drive. And we're going to focus on the first half of the video just on the mini PC. So let's grab a window capture here that should bring up the Amazon page. And yes, this is the Reatan A6. Now this does have an Oculink port on it, meaning if you wanted to put a graphics card externally into a graphics card dock, this does support that. It is Gen 4 NVMe, and there is a $100 coupon here that brings this price down to $429. So for $429, I want you to think about this. Right, when you get into the basics without support, you know, from brands we've never heard of, they're dirt cheap, about $150 to $180, and you've got pretty low end processor, small amount of RAM, small amount of storage. This is the opposite of that. This is a Ryzen 7, so you're not quite to the Ryzen 9 level. However, at Ryzen 7, it's pretty well up there. The Radeon 7080M graphics are built onto the Ryzen CPU, and if you're curious what kind of gaming prowess that internal GPU can do, I would advise you to just Google that or search here on YouTube. Anything with a Radeon 780M will all perform within a margin of error of, you know, a few frames per second. And so that way, depending on if you're a gamer and depending on what games you play, clearly, older games, retro games, esports games probably won't even have a problem with this. Higher-end AAA titles, probably in 1080, you'd be okay. However, it just depends on the game and how you set it up. I don't really think of these much unless they have discrete graphics as a gaming PC, but there's certainly people that game on them. It just depends on how demanding their games are that they play. Some will do fine, some will struggle. The ones that'll struggle will be your latest and greatest releases that are very graphically intense, and you want to turn everything up and see all the details. You're going to need a higher end machine universally. So just want you to set your expectations reasonably. Now remember, when you order from Amazon, they have a 30-day free return on Amazon. So if for any reason, like if you're wondering, will this be okay for what I want to use it for? I cannot answer that question. Nobody can. You will need to get your hands on it and try it. And the beauty with Amazon is no matter why you want to return it, it doesn't matter. It could just simply because I spent too much money, I need that money back to pay bills. Maybe nothing wrong with the product. Or maybe the product doesn't meet your needs. Maybe there's something about it you don't like. It's too big. I don't like the color. I don't know. Whatever it does, your excuse is irrelevant. And Amazon will gladly take the machine back and give you a full refund at no cost to you. So it's really about you getting it in your hands if you're curious, so that you finally can know for a fact if that's right for you. That doesn't mean it's not right for anybody or it is right for anybody. It just means, is it right for you? Only you can make that determination through having one in your hands. However, let's give you an idea of what to expect. It's got the Oculink port and DDR5, which looks like it's socketable, meaning you can upgrade it. It's got an M.2 Gen 4 1 terabyte drive, which will obviously be upgradable, and we'll play with that later. Of course, the aforementioned AMD Radeon 780M with Bluetooth 5.2, Wi-Fi 6E, and dual 2.5 gig RJ45s. It can support 4 outputs simultaneously. You got an HDMI 2 output, but supports 4K resolution. It's 60 frames per second. And, well, 60 hertz, 60 physical redraws of the screen per second. And then you have USB 4. Yeah, this has USB 4 on it. Now that USB 4, you only get one of those, and it's going to support video output if you want, up to 8K at also 60 hertz. There's also another Type-C port, and that Type-C port looks a lot like the USB 4 port. Generally, they're interchangeable with compatibility. It's just that the speed of what you plug into it will be limited by whichever one is slower, the item you're plugging in or the port you're plugging it into. But that USB Type-C port there also supports, let's see, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Let me take another look at the back of it just to verify what I'm looking at here. This is an exploded view. There's 2 USB-A's up front. And let's see if we can come around the back of it. So there's your HDMI, there's your display port, so that's 2 monitors output. I don't see any USB Type-C out back. So yeah, it looks like there's 2 Type-C's up on the front, and it looks like maybe the USB Type-C on the left is USB 4, and on the right is USB 3.2. That would be my guess. We'll verify that when we open it up, and maybe there'll be some writing on it that will help us differentiate them. Otherwise, I'm not sure. Also, please be aware that there's several other models, a slightly higher end processor, the 8745 versus the 7840, right? And it'll be priced a bit more. Then you can go up to the Ryzen 9 7940, which will be priced a little bit more, all the way up to the Ryzen 9 7940 with 64 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage right from the factory. And then those prices will represent both the level of processor and the amount of storage and RAM that you're getting. And they're all going to have Windows 11 already installed and activated. We're going to verify that today. Ratings look pretty good. There's 30 ratings, far more 5-star ratings than anything else. Nothing on 4-star, maybe 1 3-star, 1 2-star, and it looks like 2 or 3 1-stars. I'm always curious about what the 1-star reviews say, but you know what? It's going to make me log in. Never mind. A lot of times people get mad because a product gets damaged in shipping. And again, when you order from Amazon, I don't know why that would make you mad, because the returns are painless and free. So what's there to be upset about? I don't know. I don't know. But let me just take a look here, including USB-C, HDMI, paired with Oculink. Yeah, okay, so USB 3.2, you get 2 ports. USB 2.0, you get 2 ports. RJ45 LAN is two ports at 2.5 gig. HDMI, you get one of those. DisplayPort, one of those. Type-C, USB 4, that supports 40 gigabits per second. That's outstanding. And Oculink. Okay, so we have an idea what to expect. Let me come back over here to camera 1. Then I can go back to the chat room. Michael Lavelle joins us, along with Colazzo, saying hello in the chat room. And Something Crazy says hello. Okay, let's take a look. Hold on a second. I always forget the name. The Reatan A6 unboxing. Some documentation. The mini PC, pretty much as pictured. And then under here, let's see what accessories we've got. We've got a VESA mount if you want to mount the mini PC behind your monitor or under a desk or any way you want to mount and hang this, you can with this bracket and included screws in the bag. This is our power brick. And if I take a look at the wattage on here, this appears to be you know what? I need my stronger glasses. The font on that is super tiny. $120 watt. It's actually 119.7, but we'll just call it 120 watts. And then we have an HDMI cable. So opening this unit up, just to take a look at it closer. Hey, that's a pretty neat design. It's got this metal mesh band that goes across the top. Has a nice texture to it. Anywhere there's a company logo, there's probably some protective plastic. It's highly recommended that you remove that. And then here there's more protective plastic. So both of these USB Type-Cs, I don't see any way to identify. It claims it's one USB 4, but I don't know why that wouldn't be two. We'll have to plug it in and just check it. We've got our AMD Go Faster stickers right up there. And then our ports here. I'm going to come back over to camera 1. I'll bring this up to the camera so you guys get a good close-up look of it here. And here we go. This is the just another thumbnail image. Thumbnail. All right. So here is the front of it with your two USB Type A's and two USB Type C's. Audio right here, 3.5 millimeter. Then your power. Coming around the side, that's your Oculink port right there. I am trying to get this to stay in focus. And we'll bring it around back. There's your CPU heatsink, and that's where you're going to feel the air come out. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. What is this? Oh, I guess I'm okay. Don't mind me, I'm a little confused. So yeah, I think that says Oculink right underneath, doesn't it? Okay. We'll come around back. So we've got a Kensington lock here if you wanted to basically use a steel cable that locks the mini PC down to, I don't know, a table leg or something that would be hopefully mounted to the floor so no one can steal this. That's obviously more for a public area or a workplace than a home. You've got your barrel style power connector, the two USB. I got USB on the brain. The two RJ45 2.5 gig LAN jacks there, HDMI display port, and then two USB 2s, which are ideal for keyboard and mouse. On the underside, check this out. You don't have to remove any rubber feet to get to the screws. So if you want to open this up to change out the RAM or do any upgrades, you just put the screwdriver through the hole in the rubber foot, making disassembly super easy. In fact, I think I want to try that right now. Well, I am looking at it. Let me just clear some space off here. Definitely feel like I'm going to need my glasses for this. And let's take all of this and put it back in the box for now, just so I can use that close-up camera to show you me opening this up for the very first time. We are live and unscripted, so everything you see is happening in real time without any preparation beyond my education and experience in IT. So everything you see is real, nothing is scripted, nothing is rehearsed, nothing is edited. It's happening live. All right, so let me grab, I think that driver ought to be about right. And let's go back over to camera 2. This driver may be a little bit too big. What about this guy? Wow. So these are likely a Phillips number 0, a very fine, small screw. I'm just trying to grab whatever I've got in the drawer here quickly. Most similarly to the types of screws that are on NVMe drives. They're that narrow of a the head on the screw, this part of it here, super, super tiny. So you are going to need more of a jeweler screwdriver or a very narrow driver, regardless. That's a Phillips 0. And these are built with, these mini PCs are built with mobile components, which are typically found in laptops. That's where mobile components kind of existed for. That's why they were created. So you will find that a lot of the screws that hold it together will also be very much more similar to laptops than desktops because, well, quite frankly, if we were opening up a laptop, we'd be using a very similar type of screwdriver. And these are very similar types of screws. So it all kind of makes sense when you think about it. Now we do have this little pull tab here, which I always like to see. And it looks like we have some ventilation, I just noticed right down here. So I'm going to guess there's a fan under that. So when we take this off, we want to make sure that we're not using too much force and rip that power cable out. And sometimes even your Wi-Fi antennas may be glued to the lid. And if that's the case, you will, if you use too much force, they don't take a whole lot of force to bust them. So if you're opening up one of these for the very first time, be gentle, be patient, because you don't know what's under the lid. It's like turning over a rock, okay? But you want to be cautious for different reasons. Let's see if this just pulls up. Sometimes they have little metal clips and things, but actually this is just a flat cover. And if you look on the other side, that's the rubber stopper for the pull right there. And then the ventilation here is for a fan that's right there. Now, what's one of the things I complain about all the time, or I warn you about? It's always about how hot the area of your RAM and NVMe drive can get, because there's often just natural airflow without any forced air, no fans. So when we see mini PCs that offer the ability to add a 2.5-inch drive, I'm always warning you against that, because all you're doing is trapping more heat into your RAM and NVMe drive, and it's just a really, really poor decision unless you only care about today and you don't think about tomorrow. Because what that does is that heat is going to result in your fans running louder, it's going to result in your components potentially running slower and having a shorter lifespan. So while this unit does not appear to support a 2.5-inch drive, that makes me happy, because you shouldn't be putting one in there anyway, especially since a 2.5-inch drive runs slower than a USB port external drive. So why wouldn't you just buy an adapter and use it externally rather than trap it inside. With that said, it looks like we got a giant heatsink right here. I bet you our NVMe's under there. And then probably a couple more screws have to come out. Let me see. I see a screw right here. And then down in the corner here and here. All right, let's just give it a shot. Just trying to use my own power of deduction on how this comes apart. Usually it's pretty logical. Now these are different screws. They're a different length, so I'm going to just keep them separated, as the offspring would say. You will need a longer, thin driver to get deep down into this narrow passage that will lead to that screw, and you probably want to use a magnetic screwdriver so you don't drop the screw. Not that if you drop it, nothing terrible is going to happen. You'll just have to like shake the unit to get it out. I'm having a difficult time even just reaching it, and of course when you're getting in there it's very dark, and the minute you cover it with the screwdriver it's impossible to see. So it's almost something you have to feel. So when the screwdriver is sitting into the head of the screw, you can actually feel that. And I don't think this driver is magnetized, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so I guess I just don't have the screw out all the way. Story of my life. There does appear to be another screw over here. I'm going to leave that one in there for right now. I don't think there's anything in this corner. There could be. I'm not seeing it. So I've almost got this pulled up. I think I just didn't take this one out enough. Now, some of you might be thinking, you know, there's other mini PCs that don't have this additional piece. This seems like a little bit more work, but this is a very critical piece. If you want your machine to run nice and cool and quiet and have your components have a good, happy life, long life, then it's important that they have proper cooling. And so where a lot of other, especially less expensive or lesser known brands, where they're saving some money is they're leaving stuff like this out. And so for you as a customer, well, that's interesting. It's a lot bigger of a screw. For you as a customer, the long-term ownership of it may be affected. Now there's a little fan plugged in, or this fan right here is plugged in, as you can tell, right here. So we'll just pull that cable off. And then I can set this aside, and you see I still left that one screw right there. Now here's the inside of the unit. Let me bring it up to camera 1 and I'll show you. We've got a Kingston NVMe drive in there. That's our 1 terabyte drive. We have another slot available right here over the Wi-Fi card, which is easily upgradable and replaceable as well. And the RAM is not soldered in. That means it's slower RAM, but it also means you can upgrade it. This is DDR5. This is not covering up a label for branding purposes. This is a material for heat dissipation. So if you were to replace the RAM, I recommend you put this heat shielding back over it. We've got some crucial, see what that says right there. You guys can read it. We've got 2 sticks of RAM there, which is going to give us dual channel performance. And everything else, there's really nothing else in there that you'd want to get to, but you can absolutely put 2 NVMe drives in there. Now, my initial goal today was to see about the that GiGiMundo drive, but that GiGiMundo has a built-in heatsink that isn't going to work in here. because this already has a heatsink in the lid. All right, that covers this area. So if you're going to put a drive, an NVMe drive in here, make sure you buy one that does not have a heatsink on it. Another thumbnail? Take off my glasses? No, I shouldn't look pensive. I should look excited. What? Isn't that how Mr. Beast does it? Everything's like... I don't know. I don't know. All right, so very easily accessible. This does add, this little piece does make it a little bit more complicated, but not by much. I mean, it's not a big deal. And we'll plug the fan back on. We'll put this back together. We'll fire it up for the first time, and we'll see what it sounds like and how it performs. I remember that red wire going towards the Wi-Fi card as this was facing this direction. And I don't have to keep guessing which way this connector goes on. See, if I do this enough times, I'm getting smarter. Let's see. Make sure that's seated all the way down. That cable being short also prevents it from getting caught up in the fan. If they give you too long of a cable and you can say, wow, I could take that out without unplugging it, then you're not paying attention on how you put it back together, then all that extra slack cable is likely going to get wound up in the fan. They resolve that tech support issue by simply making sure the cable's quite short. That may require and justify removing or unplugging the cable when disassembling the unit, as I've just demonstrated. Now, with regards to this, there's a giant heatsink right here. Back over to camera 2. This is what I'm referring to with the pads here designed for, should be the NVMe drives here. And then there's a big post sticking up right over here. And what it looks like you'll do is, if you wanted to add, this is a little different. If you notice, the NVMe drive ends, the screw is right here. So if we were to put another NVMe drive over this Wi-Fi card right here, then we would have to unscrew the top part of this, put the NVMe drive, and screw this top part back down again, this like bolt, because that is a piece here, this hole here, that's going to secure this back on. This is very easy to tell how this goes back on, because the cutout right there is going to go over the LAN jacks there. So just something to keep in mind if you're going to open it up and work on it. And then that screw right there, that's the short one. And it throws me because I'm used to there being a screw in each corner. There's 4 corners. But this, for some reason, they're only putting in 3 screws. So we've got the bottom right and top left corner from the angle I'm looking at this on, along with that short screw just up there by the heatsink. It's an interesting design. It bothers my OCD. Not a surprise. I feel like there's supposed to be another screw over here, but there isn't anything. Now, one of the benefits about using a shorter screwdriver like this is you're not going to get a bunch of leverage and over tighten these screws. Once they kind of stop turning, don't turn them anymore. Don't force them any further. The only reason I'm even checking them is I want that heatsink right up here to have a good solid fit to the top of the NVMe drive below it. And it's important that you have 2 NVMe drives of the same thickness, because otherwise this heatsink may sit on an angle and one drive will get cooled and the other drive won't. In just a minute, I should be able to find that. There's a screw in there somewhere. There it is. Okay. And then this lid goes back on. If we go towards the back here, that's where the pull tab was towards the back. And then this vent will align with that fan. So that's going to go right back on that way. That's super easy to tell. And then we can put these screws back in now. Once again, you don't need to torque these down. Once the screw gives you a stop, your initial point where the screw doesn't want to go any further, don't force it any further than that. It's telling you. That's how it communicates. It'll stop turning easily. It'll get to a point where it just doesn't want to turn anymore. Don't try and force it beyond that. You will break things if you do, and there's no benefit should you choose to do that. There's no benefit to you should you succeed. You're just going to make it harder to take off in the future if you over tighten it. All right. Let's get it plugged in, turned on, and do our first boot. We'll go through the out-of-box setup, take a look at who makes our network card drive, who's the manufacturer of the network card, rather. See what version of Windows we've got on here, make sure it's activated. We can run a Crystal Disk Mark test, and of course, be happy to answer or attempt to answer any questions you guys might have. So here we go. Power, plug it in right there. And then down here, it is a relatively short power cable. Again, I'm not a fan of those bricks. It does keep the price lower. You can always get extension cables if you need to, but it's something to keep in mind if that is a concern that you might have. I'm not going to give it internet access, nor should you, until after you're at the Windows desktop. So your very first power on of any new laptop, desktop, or mini PC, in my opinion, and in my experience, there's no benefit to hooking the internet up until after you've got to the desktop. So, no internet, but we do need HDMI, and we do need a keyboard and mouse. So I've got my keyboard and mouse right over here. Turn these on, and I will plug these into USB 2. You don't have to plug them into any particular USB port, but why would I waste a fast USB port on a keyboard and a mouse? I'm not going to type any faster. And then I need an HDMI port to capture our video, and we will then output that through the capture card so you can join me in watching it boot up. I just have to untangle my mess of cables. Yeah, I think I got it. All right, so I'm just going to grab a traditional HDMI. We'll plug that in, turn it on. We get a power light. Let's switch over to the video output right now. And here in just a moment, we should get a power on self-test screen or a company logo. Something should appear here in the center of the screen. There it is. Name of the company. Perfect. I can hear the fan a little bit. It's got a little bit of a high-pitched whistle to it, which I can understand might drive some people crazy. It doesn't bother me at all. It's not loud. Whenever you get a small fan, it has to spin faster. And the nature of a small spinning fan is that it may have a bit of a whistle. It's not coil whine or anything like that. It's the sound of a tiny fan moving a lot of air. But it's very, very subtle. Get through the out-of-box experience here. Looks pretty traditional. If I can get my mouse, there it is. We'll come over here, continue in English. United States. US keyboard. No secondary keyboard language. We're not going to connect it to the network. We're going to accept the license agreement. And look, we didn't have to do the Shift F10 or anything, so Reatan's already taken care of that for us, unless we have an older version of Windows 11 installed. So let's find out right now. I'll put the username of user with a blank password, and I'll just leave my location settings on and turn everything else off. That'll keep my date and time accurate at all times. Clocks lose time or gain time unless you have a very expensive clock. And this will allow it to connect to the internet time server, set my time zone, my date, and to do all that automatically all the time. So I never have to worry about things like daylight saving time or just the natural progression of loss of minutes or seconds, or the gaining of minutes or seconds as the clock oscillators in electronics, especially, you know, when we're not trying to build a clock. It's pretty universal. If you've ever owned a watch or a clock, you know what I'm talking about. With a cell phone, not so much, right? Because your cell phone's always updating the proper date and time at all times. But in the meantime, I don't know why it's rebooting, but I'm okay with it. Normally, it just takes us to a desktop after we answer those questions. I'm not used to a reboot. Now you can see all these shaded out options. That's because I'm in the United States. This is something that will propagate once we put our internet cable, plug our Ethernet cable into it. So let me do that now. I'm going to grab my Ethernet cable. It doesn't matter which of the RJ45 jacks I use. They're both available. Take a pick, flip a coin. Down in the bottom right corner, you'll see it's flashing, getting an IP address from a router. Once it establishes that, it'll communicate with Microsoft and propagate the appropriate icons based on your region settings. With that, we can now write, let's see, are we in 4K mode? It looks like we're in 4K mode. It's very difficult for me to read this. Let me make sure we're in 1080. 1920 by 1080. Let's keep that. And now I can read it a lot better. I also want to edit my power settings because I don't want this thing to go to sleep on me while we're live. So just check. Oh, I typed something wrong. Start without my data. Yeah. Continue without data. Uncheck this box. Let me try that one more time. We're going to come over here just to check my power settings. Edit power. There it is. Edit power plan there. And oh, it's set to 2 hours. That wouldn't be a problem. But I'd never want a computer that doesn't have batteries to ever go to sleep. That doesn't even make any sense. So we'll save that. And then we're going to go to Windows Update. We're going to start looking to install missing updates. There will always be missing updates because Microsoft releases them very frequently. The older the machine is, the more updates you're going to be missing. I like to turn this feature on and go under advanced options and turn these boxes on as well so it can let me know in a big bold screen when it's ready to be restarted after an update without doing it automatically. So I wanted to let me know. Now we're looking at just 4 updates here, which is fantastic. Let me right click on the start button and go to the system properties, and we can see what operating system came with this. There's our processor as advertised. There's our RAM as advertised and that we looked at. This is Windows 11 Pro and it is 24H2. And we have, this is critical, we have contact information to the company if you need support. A lot of the cheaper no-name brands leave this area generically empty and may not have the name of the company on a sticker or give you any instruction on a website or an email address should you need any sort of support. The bigger, more respected manufacturers will obviously have this in here. You'll see this in Dells and HPs. You'll see this in other large manufacturers of mini PCs. And you can see Reatan is playing ball at that level. They're not sort of taking your money and running away. They're going to let you know how you can reach them if you need to. If we look in the device manager, let me right click here, go to the device manager. And we can see who makes our network adapters. We click here, we see an Intel AC210, and that's going to be your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi 6E. The two 2.5 gig LAN adapters are made by Realtek, and they're both the same, so that's good. Most people would never use 2 at the same time. That's more for like home router type stuff, but it is there, and maybe even, if nothing else, a backup should one fail, although I've only seen like 2 or 3 network cards fail in my entire career. But regardless, it's there. And we can check our activation status. If we close this and just type in the word, or start typing in the word activation, you'll see up here at the top it says activation settings as a recommendation, so we don't have to finish typing. It says, is that what you were going to type? Yes, quickly we can get there. And our activation state is active, meaning that this version of Windows is activated. You gotta keep them activated. All right, so while we've been doing all that, we're still downloading updates in the background here, which we can check by just simply going back to Windows Update. And we'll go ahead and let this download and install. And then while we're waiting, we're going to jump over to the chat because I've not been paying attention and see if there's any questions you guys have for me. Let me just put myself in a corner. We can keep an eye on both things at the same time. Either the high-pitched fan noise has gone away or I'm not noticing it anymore. Sometimes when you have anything mechanical that spins, if it hasn't spun in a while, it may be the grease sort of lubricating and spreading around, or I've already acclimated to it and I don't hear it. I'm not sure. Let me know. Do you hear a whine out of this? A high-pitched whine?
Yes.
You do hear it?
I do.
So apparently I have tuned it out. That's how quick I acclimated to that.
I mean,
it'll go nicely. No, it's very mild. It'll go nicely with my tinnitus.
You have email.
I have an email. Oh, okay. Perfect timing. Thank you. Yeah, I don't even hear it anymore, so I guess Mara can hear it. What am I doing? Checking email. Nick Caffrey with $11.16 says, great content. Thank you, Nick. And Lou Greenia with a $25 PayPal contribution in honor of Buster's birthday. All right. I love this community, man. I'm telling you. Thank you guys so much. And of course, our friend Buster also sent us the regular Amazon Super Chat gift card. Instead of giving Super Chat, he's giving the gift card, so that way we get the money faster. And YouTube won't take 30%. Amazon doesn't take anything. So, of course, a shout out and a thank you to Buster for that as well. And I think I'm caught up. Okay, so let me take a quick look here in the chat. Let me move some things out of the way. My eyes are just not cooperating today. Bikerman says, or Bikeman says, Carrie, a while back, I followed a post in the forum and did the steps to update secure boot keys and revoke the 2011 certificate key. Guess I'm stuck with it now until June of 2026. I'm not aware of any forum talking about, I mean, I don't know, you're talking about our forums? Did the steps to update secure boot keys and revoke the 2011 certificate. I don't know what I'd have to see the forum post. You'd have to, you can't post the link in the chat room, but you can send us an email with the link in the email and we can take a look at it. That doesn't sound like anything that came from our forum. Maybe you got it from a forum. If I saw anything in our forum that was potentially dangerous or had consequences, I would make sure to either remove that post or to annotate it with a warning. He said it's another forum. You know, listen, be careful of information you get online. If you're just going to blindly follow what strangers online say, then, you know, accept your consequences. I don't know what else to tell you. If you were trying to solve a problem, I would strongly advise you to go to a trusted source. When you're, or let me just say it this way, when I'm looking to solve a problem, and I do that all the time, I'm just not looking for answers to the problem. I'm looking to see where the answers are coming from. If the answers are coming from Microsoft, or if the answers are coming from a source that I'm familiar with, it's very easy for me to say that's probably true. But if the answer is coming from a conversation in Reddit from a bunch of people using anonymous handles that we have no history or reputation for, I wouldn't be so quick to accept it as truth or without consequences. Truth or consequences? How about truth and consequences? So for that reason, if you were trying to solve a problem, we'd love to know what the problem was and then guide you to whether or not we'd recommend any of those steps. Oftentimes people are just bored, I guess. They don't have anything else to do and they start looking to create problems. I don't know why people do this. In corporate America, you'd be losing your job if you did that with any regularity. Whether you even work in the IT department, it's just it doesn't make any sense to me why people go looking for problems. The computer is designed to be used for a purpose. And if you cannot fulfill that purpose because it's running too slow or it's crashing out or whatever the problem is, we have to have a problem to solve. If your problem is, well, Secure Boot wasn't on, I wanted to turn it on. Why? And if you say, well, it doesn't matter why, just because I want to, I'd say, okay, well, when you make changes to a working computer, and I'm assuming this computer was working, there could be consequences as a result of the changes that you may not like. So if you like it the way it is right now and you're not fixing anything that's broken, I would recommend leaving it alone. I guess that makes me kind of boring. Not too adventurous when it comes to stability and reliability and security of a client's computer. I don't take it lightly, and I don't think you should either. Not that the consequences you have are terrible or anything, but I don't know why you would voluntarily subject yourself to investing the time and research to do that to yourself, unless it was there to solve a particular problem, which for all I know, it might have been, but I think some people just can't leave things alone. I don't know. It's like somebody who always works on cars, but they never actually drive the car. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but I can't make a living doing that, and I can't encourage other people to exercise this bad habit, because to me, I would identify that as a bad habit. What I would do, if I just couldn't help myself, I would go to somewhere like Emerald Computers and I would buy one of their recycled computers, right? Maybe even buy it broken. Get it super cheap. That will satisfy that need to go in there and start playing around without any sort of cause of concern of consequence, because it's just, this is my computer I rely on and this is the one I play with. And make sure you keep them separated. We're back to that again. Gotta keep them separated. I must have offspring on the mind today. Anyway, do what you want, but do expect the proper results depending on which way you choose to proceed. One way is a bit more certain, and the other way is a bit more of a roll of the dice. And depending on how important your computer is to you, that roll of the dice may give you the number you wanted to get, but it may result in a consequence you were never expecting. So if we're making changes for a reason, then you have to determine if that reason outweighs the consequence, the potential consequence. So anyway, just so you know, something to think about. You can use your computer any way you want. But so long as you keep doing that, you're never going to stop having questions. You're going to keep coming in here and you're going to be like one person that just always and always and always keeps having problems. And the cause of the problem isn't the computer. The cause of the problem is that you are trying to fix things that aren't broken and you won't leave it alone. So that, in my business, I would love to have a customer like you that I was billing, because I could make a lot of money from you. You'd be one of my favorites. And again, we're happy to help you. If you want to keep doing it, knock yourself out, but don't expect anything to change. You're just going to keep repeating the same things over and over as you keep making changes that are potentially unnecessary, and you're going to have consequences that are potentially unnecessary. What I would do if I were you is, if you're having a problem or a concern, I would go to our forums and I would post that question or concern in the forums. And then that way, if the answer that we're offering you from a reputable source is, hey, you should turn on Secure Boot, or you should clear your certificates, which I don't I don't even know anybody would clear any certificates. I don't get that at all. At least then you'd be far less likely to have consequences. Otherwise, we would warn you ahead of time. By the way, if you do this, these are the consequences. Most people online don't do that. Most people online will give you an answer they believe to be true, which may not be true, and may have consequences that they never considered or thought about offering to you, even if they did know, because, hey, it's free and it's on Reddit from a complete stranger, so why not just believe them? These are just things to consider. And again, I'm not telling you what to do, but at certain actions, you should expect certain consequences. And if you keep repeating the same actions, you'll expect there's going to be continually consequences. When you change what you're doing, you'll change the frequency of the consequences. You won't get rid of them entirely, you know, Murphy's Law. But when I come at it from a professional perspective, when customers don't want to keep throwing money to me to keep fixing problems, when that happens, they'll think think about it this way. If you paid me to fix your computer and I did the things that you did to it, wouldn't you be calling me back for free warranty support? Wouldn't that cost me money? If I refused to do it and I said no, would you ever call me again? Would you think this guy doesn't know what he's doing? I'm not going to recommend him or use him again. So why would it be different for me than it would be for you? If I wouldn't do it, why would you do it? Anyway, it's just, that's the way I see it. Dennis says, to prevent security vulnerabilities and boot failures, Windows devices need new certificates delivered through Windows Update, which most users will receive automatically. Yeah, see, when it comes to these Windows certificates, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. I've never had to deal with a Windows certificate ever in my career. Mostly if there's a certificate error that, in other words, customer calls me and says, I'm getting a certificate error, what does that mean? It usually means your date and time are set wrong. That's it. Maybe a CMOS battery died or someone, whatever reason, I don't know how it happens, but you know, they're back set to 1997. And when I say your date and time are wrong, I don't mean by an hour or a day. It's gotta be way off when you get these certificate errors. Anything else, I've never installed a certificate or removed a certificate ever in my career. I think it's just happening automatically, and I'm not sure it's even supposed to be adjusted by an end user. But admittedly, I don't know much about it because it's never been a problem I've ever been paid to solve. Peter BZ joining us from the Netherlands with a €1 super chat. Thank you, Peter. Let me keep scrolling through the chat, see if there's other questions or comments. Oh, I see Dennis said something prior to that. Google said Microsoft issued an advisory because the secure boot certificate on Windows devices, that were first installed in 2011, are set to expire in June of 2026. That's a long way away to prevent security vulnerabilities in boot. Yeah, never put it past the internet to just freak out over nothing. People were worried about, with anxiety, the upcoming end of Windows 10, October 14th of 2025, and they were panicking and freaking out in the chat room. If you go back 3 years ago, if you go back to 2021, 2022, this was on the top of everyone's mind because some articles got released on it and everybody freaked out. The information that you're being provided online is not necessarily of the second or of the moment, and you don't necessarily need to react to it and respond to it as though it's raining outside right now. It's a forecast. They're telling you this is what's coming, and they're giving you a heads up 3 years in advance, and immediately people start panicking. 3 years is a long way. Then as we get to the summer of 2025 and we're months away from the end of Windows 10, what does Microsoft do? They offer an extension of 12 months. If you just create the Microsoft account and back up your settings, you get another 12 months of free security updates. So all that panic, all that anxiety was all for nothing, and it was there to get you to click on it. It's clickbait. It's really valid information, but it's so premature. There's no reason for you to act on it now. And I would say the same is true with these certificates. I've never had an issue with any certificate expiration. It's probably a news article to let you know this is what the update is for. and that it's a whole nother year away, 11 months before that even the existing one they're talking about would become an issue, and will likely resolve itself because Microsoft can't take, you know, a billion support calls all because of, you know, everybody's computer stops working. That ain't going to happen. So trying to fix a problem you're afraid you're going to have, such as Windows 10 updates stopping, is an effort in futility, exhaustion, and frustration. Most of the time, you are going to have consequences. So when we have a problem, computer's not doing something it's supposed to do, some sort of an issue, then we fix it. How about if I put your arm in a cast? Just in case in the future you break it, it'll already be in the cast. Wouldn't you say that's an absurd logic? This is exactly the same. You need to stop letting this information poison your mind. It's there for informational purpose, not as a call to action. There's nothing you need to do. We're just telling you in the next year or so, this will be updated. There's nothing you need to do. It's just information. That's it. If you have a problem and you need help, we're here to help you. You don't need to go and search this stuff out. And if you're not sure if it's real or not, just ask us. Is this something I should be, before you take any action that could have potential consequences? This could all have been avoided and your time could have been saved over something that didn't need to be changed. And likely, if it did need to be changed, we probably would have walked you through it in an entirely different way. But regardless, that's just the way I would recommend you handle it. Unless you enjoy this sort of going around in circles, in which case I'll get out of your way. All right, so I appreciate that information, Dennis. I don't know anything about it, so. Oh, I'm missing a lot here in the chat room. Look at all these happy birthdays to Buster. I love to see that. You have the best community here. Michael joins us from Greenhalgh in Bilth Wells, in Mid Wales in the UK. He says, I've been watching you since your days in the kitchen and Coca-Cola addiction. Nice. Let's see. Scott, what is Scott saying? Oh, he's talking to Peter. Andy says, I don't mind a bit of fan sound as long as it's not a whine. You know, it depends on the whine. It depends on the pitch and the loudness of it. Because I don't even hear this one anymore. I don't even hear the fan right now. It's just dead silent. Ron Barnes joins us and says hello. There's Barry Klein saying hello here in the chat. Bikeman said I wasn't trying to solve a problem, making sure my system was secure from Black Lotus UEFI Secure Boot rootkit. I realize now I probably shouldn't have followed it. So the question is, and then again, this is another way of misunderstanding the information being presented. Is there any recorded incident of anybody ever in the history of mankind, ever, not even once, if it even happened once, being affected by the Black Lotus UEFI Secure Boot rootkit, or is this strictly a security researcher letting people know it's possible, but that there are no examples? To the best of my knowledge, you are confusing research with an epidemic. So the research might say, hey, there's a flu coming, you should probably get the flu shot. And whether or not you get the flu, you won't know, but you get the flu shot just in case, and whether or not the variant of flu you get is included in that vaccine, how are you ever going to know, right? But what we're talking about here is likely just the research of it, where they go, there is a possibility, that somebody can do this unless this is patched. And these types of researchers release all kinds of exploits on a regular basis, but very few of them ever become reality. And the reason they're releasing the information is to make people aware of it. But again, it's not a call to action. So I would not do anything other than my next search would have been, what is this rootkit and how many people have been affected by it? And if you do that search now, I'd be interested in what answer you get. Because I'm betting dollars to donuts that that's zero, that it's non-existent. It only exists in theory. And they might even be able to prove that, yes, it's not a theory, it's actually doable, but that nobody's ever done it. And so long as they get the patch in place before some hacker takes advantage of it, there's no race against time for you to do anything at all. At least that's my opinion. You're reacting to things that aren't happening to you. I see people reacting to a Windows update that affected like 2 people in Japan. Don't install this update. Okay, so like 1% of 1% of 1% of Windows users may be subject to this problem. So let's all react to it as though it affects us. I've never met a person in real life that had their SSD fail due to a Windows update. And we've been through this before years ago with another Windows update. And it's always the SSD manufacturer at fault. It's never Microsoft. Historically, it's always the firmware in the SSD being poorly written or a mistake has been made. So regardless, that was a ticking time bomb. They have a pre-existing condition, and it's just a matter of time before that bad firmware is going to result in a failure, whether that's through a Windows update or just through some other piece of software or use case scenario. Microsoft is not to blame for that, and most people would never be affected by it. But hey, that's clickable material. Like if you're trying to get clicks and generate revenue and views, there's no better way than to scare people about Chupacabra, Bigfoot, and the Loch Ness Monster. People want to be scared, and people are going to click it, and that's going to get you paid. And what does that encourage you to do if you're a creator? I got to do another one like that. What can I scare people about next? What a lot of people who make these kind of videos and write these kind of articles are not telling you is the likelihood of you becoming a victim. So when we talk about research and security, the likelihood of you becoming a victim is 0 because that's the information's been exposed. They're giving you a heads up. We're already aware of this. There's nothing for you to do unless there is a call to action. And the article says, we recommend users do this. It's probably not telling you to do that. In most cases, it's just there to say, look what we found. It's nothing yet, but it could be something. And before it comes something, it's Microsoft's job or the product manufacturer's. That's their job, not your job, to keep that from happening. Or it's going to cost them a lot of money and support if they don't. Now, when there's an actual virus going around, that will be on your local television news. So if your local television news or your local television news online, I'm talking the big news providers, CNN, BBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, whatever it is you get your news from as a reputable source, if this were affecting the general computer owners around the world, it would be part of the news. But because it's part of some website you read, it's likely not newsworthy enough for your local news carrier to carry it because it doesn't really affect most people, if anyone at all. So you got to think about that. Are you ever being withheld information from your local news that could affect you locally? That you're only going to get on Reddit or some forum? I've never seen that in my life. So it's another thing to just use critical thinking to establish the value of what you're reading and the likelihood that it impacts you. Because in most cases, in my experience, if it were that popular and that much of an issue, then your big news carriers would carry that story, the Associated Press, Reuters, all those. So that's a big red flag that it's not being carried by news. It's not newsworthy. And if it's not newsworthy, it's not worth your time unless you're a security researcher or you work for an affected company and that's part of your job. But the rest of it's just information for the public. It's not really a call to action for you to do a darn thing. Just so you know for the future. Let me get a cold Gatorade here. But I appreciate all the questions, and you know, it's good that we clarify the difference. Not all information has the same value. It really depends on why it's being provided, and who is providing it. So a very knowledgeable research person is probably in their best interest to let people know there's a potential exploit here. And if the exploit deals with Google Chrome or something, it's Google's job to fix that. And they might just let you know, hey, we discovered this, we've informed Google, and make sure you get your latest update. But unless you have updates turned off, you're going to get it anyway. So there's no reason to talk about it. On the other hand, if they're saying, oh, a bunch of people are downloading a new movie release that's got a virus in it and they're pirating it, you shouldn't pirate that movie unless you want a virus. And this is affecting a bunch of people, then, you know, it'll be on the news if that becomes a phenomenon. All right, so just something for you to consider. And again, I'm not telling you what to do, but I just want you to have reasonable expectations on how you respond to information without verification and without considering the source and the validity of if it impacts you. I mean, there's plenty of information I see about what pregnant women should do. I'm never going to be a pregnant woman, so, you know, it's interesting reading. It doesn't affect me. There's no call to action for me. All right, that might be an extreme example, but that's all I'm trying to say. Let's go back to full screen over here so I can go back to Windows updates. And then what we'll do after the Windows updates is I'll put my utilities flash drive in here and we'll run the Crystal Disk Mark info. I expect this to be about 5,000 megabytes per second as a middling Gen 5 drive. I'm sorry, Gen 4 drive, not Gen 5, Gen 4. And what I'm expecting and what it is, well, I won't know for sure until I check it. So we're going to do that here right now as we are confirmed to be up to date. So let me grab my flash drive right here, and we'll plug it in here like so. And go to drive D, pull over CPU-Z, I'll pull over VLC, oops, C. Let's see, what else do I want? Go carries, Windows 10 optimizer, we'll put that on there. The Windows 11 network fixes for browsing without user account passwords. On my local area network is something that I require. PC testing. I don't need the info. We know it's a Kingston. We just need Crystal Disk Mark Portable. And I mean, if you're curious about the temps, I'm sure the temps on this are going to be outstanding with that additional fan. Again, I won't know that for sure without testing it. Let's start with Crystal Disk Info. Yeah, I'm starting to hear that whistle again. It's very faded, but it's there. Okay. We'll let that run, and while it runs, I'm heading back over to the chat room. Mark Leibowitz joins us from Chicago. He says, wow, very nice specs for the money. Well, that $100 off coupon it is. And it's better than expected with regards to our sequential read speeds at 6100. I said somewhere around 5,000. That's around 5,000 in the right direction. I got no complaints about that because the maximum speed we can go on Gen 4 will be about 7,400. And a human being cannot tell the difference between 6,100 megabytes per second and 7,300 megabytes per second. And you sure as hell can't tell the difference between 7,400 megabytes a second and 15,000. And you can't tell the difference from 15,000 to 30,000. I mean, you must have some extreme file input-output if you can move data internally, because nothing externally runs that fast. That would be a very unique scenario that you'd be in. And I'm sure that person exists, because don't challenge the internet for absurdity. But for most people, it's completely unnoticeable. We're reaching a point of such diminishing returns that, you know, once you hit NVMe speeds, honestly, it's very hard to tell the difference. As you keep doubling the speed, you might save seconds, and then as you keep doubling the speed, fractions of seconds, and keep doubling the speed, you're making milliseconds. So again, you can keep going faster and faster and faster, but your eyes and your brain aren't working any faster. And the data moving in and coming out from the internet, you know, or whatever your source is, still limited by the ports, the USB, the Ethernet, Oculink, all of that's going to limit you. So the only time you could really take advantage, full advantage of those high speeds is only when internal operations only. And even then it'll be a result of seconds or milliseconds, depending on your process. And then depending on how often you do it, I wouldn't spend too much money or worry benchmarking NVMe drives over that concern. I would be concerned if I'm getting what I'm paying for, right? And then it becomes about the principle of it. If I'm getting a Generation 4 drive, it's advertised as a Generation 4 drive, I expect it to run between 4,000 and 7,400 megabytes per second. And since it's not being promoted as having a high-end spec, it's being promoted as, you know, there's nothing special about the RAM or the NVMe drive. They are paired like wine and cheese to match the rest of the computer. And so the numbers I'm expecting would be somewhere between 4,000 and 7,400, somewhere around 5,000. I'm getting 6,100 on the reads. I'm seeing 5,300 on the writes. I am happy. That absolutely meets expectations for me. For what we're paying and what we're getting, that seems like a good solid value right there. Mark Leibowitz said, I have a client who routinely freaks out about stuff like secure boot certificate allegedly expiring. She does not know what a certificate is. Yes, most fear is caused from a lack of experience or knowledge in the thing they're afraid of. The biggest thing that kills fear is education or experience. You might be in a dark room and you can't see and you hear noises and you don't know where the noises are coming from. And so your imagination's going wild. It's a self-protection, fight or flight response that's natural to all living things on this planet. But as a civilized human being who has the ability to think critically, you could simply turn on a light, grab a flashlight, turn the light on your phone, and identify if it's bothering you, where the sound is coming from. Then it's not scary anymore. Unless you identify it's a rattlesnake, and in which case, you know what to do, right? You're not going to just keep walking around blindly in there. You will safely get yourself away from there and then maybe call pest control or somebody to come in and take care of the snake. It's no big deal, really isn't. The bigger deal is living without the knowledge and living without the experience, and that leads you into a world of anxiety that you yourself are able to cure if you choose to. But some people, they like being scared. They'll go to horror movies and go for the thrill of it. I don't find any joy in that. No. Now, if it's a comedy horror movie, I'm okay with it. But just a straight up horror movie, they don't end well. Never do they end well. Somebody's dying. Well, multiple people. But I'm saying that's your happy ending, is the killer gets killed. Well, that's not happy to me. But it's like a mental roller coaster. I'd rather be on a real roller coaster. That's just me. All right, there's our numbers. Let me save that. We'll move on to the next thing here. Let me go back to full screen so I can see it. File. Save image as crystal disk mark. Save it as a JPEG. And we'll put it on the desktop. There we go. I guess I'll run my optimizer on here, and then that'll need a reboot. The access denieds are just trying to turn off indexing on files that are in use. There's standard operating procedure there. This will require a reboot for those changes to take effect. Most of the changes I'm making here are very minor. They're done to just simply tune the computer to get a little bit more performance and also reduce some resource usage so that the end user gets more resources to use. That often results in a little bit more performance. None of those tweaks individually can do much measurable difference, but when they're all combined together, they could make a difference, especially on an older machine where there's just a lot of buildup. Nothing like a nice clean install of Windows to be lean, mean, reliable, fast, responsive, secure. But over time, especially if you're somebody that downloads things and keeps experimenting with software, I would run a backup image, and then anytime I've run software I'm not keeping, I wouldn't uninstall the software. I would restore the image, and that removes all of the Windows rot that can occur through just this ongoing process of experimentation. When I'm doing managed service providing for my clients, we have a hard, steadfast rule that says you will not make changes to the computer, you will not add software to the computer, you won't change the network. You call me, that's my job. Because if they're making changes that they're not telling me about and they're not clearing with me first, they could take the whole system down. They could put the company out of business. They could put the company in a position to be taken over by hackers. They could create support calls where it's an emergency and I'm busy working that ordinarily would not have happened. I get enough support calls from parts failing or power spikes causing damage. That keeps me busy. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. But what I don't need are users creating their own problems that are jeopardizing and are inconsiderate to their employer and other employees that rely on that income to survive. So we take this very seriously. We just tell the clients, it's in your best interest. If you want to stay up and running and you don't want emergencies, if you need something or you have a problem computer related, you can't print to a printer, don't try and fix it yourself beyond checking it for paper, turning it off and back on again. And we encourage them, turn it off and back on again. If the problem still exists beyond those very simple inspections, at that point, I want you to call me. Or you can call me sooner and I'm going to tell you to turn it on and off again. But it's my job. It's what I'm paid for. But if they start trying to fix it themselves because they don't want to bother me or whatever, then if they're not successful, I have to figure out what the hell they did on top of fixing the original problem, which is what they did it for. And it makes the problem worse. And then depending on how many attempts they make before they call, keeps damaging more and more unrelated things. And they're not necessarily full disclosure on that, where I've got to now take a look and untangle something where somebody gives me no backstory, no history, or the history they give me is abbreviated and I'm not getting the whole story. And that leaves me in a situation of frustration that was completely user created or made worse completely unnecessarily due to impatience. Now it's going to take me longer, to undo that. And, clients will often do that once. And once I make it clear to them, and once they're down long enough, and it's so inconvenient to them, one of the things the client wants to know is, how can we prevent this from happening? And I say, you call me. You don't try and fix it yourself beyond turning it off and on again. You call me. Well, we don't want to bother you. No, you're paying me to bother me. That's my job. Please allow me to do my job that you're paying me for. Seems like an odd request, isn't it? All right. With the reboot now, let me go back over to full screen here. And let's take a quick look at our Windows install. So we have all our standard icons of a clean Windows 11, the same as I would install it. We look at our installed apps. There's a few things that I like to remove. It's just me personally. They're my preferences. These are options for you, but they don't really have any consequences for me. I don't like this Microsoft Family thing. I don't know anybody who uses it. Maybe you do. Maybe you'll want to in the future. I don't know. I don't use it. I wouldn't miss it if it were gone. I'd rather have those resources. Microsoft's Media Player, I don't care for it. I think it's far inferior to the free open source VLC program. So there's no reason having two of them. I will not keep this Office 365. This is a sales pitch. We'll get rid of that. This Microsoft News, I don't want that. Again, these are little tiny things, but if you take out a bunch of little tiny things, you can free up a lot of space and resources when you add it all up. Microsoft Teams, I don't use it. I've never, ever in my life used Microsoft Teams. If I ever needed it tomorrow, I would just re-download it. It's free and put it right back on. Mobile plans, this is not a mobile computer. And if it was a mobile computer, I've never owned one with a SIM card anyway. That's another thing I've never needed, so I just remove it. And I know the customer's never going to need that. This Outlook is a basic Windows Outlook, basically like Outlook Express used to be. I'm not interested in that, nor do I have any customers that use it. This remote desktop connection I will remove, but I'll save it for last. This is a security concern for me only on Windows 11 Pro or Windows 10 Pro. Windows 11 and Windows 10 Home do not have this. We don't use it. This is more of a corporate solution, not intended for end users. So I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to take out Xbox Live because we don't use that. And then I'm also going to take out this Xbox. We don't use that either. You might. None of my customers in business use that. None of my home users use that either. And okay, that's about it. Now I'll take out the remote desktop connection just for one less entryway into the computer to help secure us, since we're never going to use it. And then once that finishes there, it wants a reboot. That's how deeply ingrained it is. That's why it's dangerous, or potentially dangerous. If we have a feeling we might need that someday, we can always put it back on. But there's so many free utilities that are way more secure and a lot easier to use. Rust Desk, AnyDesk, UltraViewer, RemotePC.com. I use Instant House Call for repair work, for attended access and unattended access. There's so much of that now, you don't need that anymore. That was your better than nothing solution from Microsoft. It works great in a corporate environment, however, but hence that's why it's on the Pro version. I'm just looking back through the chat here. Kirby says that family icon I removed, he says that's some of the worst software ever made by Microsoft. Don't say that. Microsoft will say, hold my beer, we can do worse. Don't challenge them. The Greeniest says, so both he and Mark Gaines have the same cooler struggles. They both had the Leon Lee cooler. Both had issues with using fan controlling software apart from Leon Lee's that wasn't working with everybody else's. So they both went Corsair. But when Luke reached out to Leon Lee, they wanted him to hook everything back up and test something. And Luke's like, I'm not putting this cooler back in. So Luke is now updating us and saying that Leon Lee finally gave in and they shipped him a new HydroShift all-in-one and a set of SL Infinity fans. What an unnecessary headache that was. Well, maybe, but now you've got a cooler you can sell to help pay for the Corsair cooler you switched to. So you could have a payday for that. And maybe a friend or somebody you know will benefit from saving from retail price of buying one at full price. So it's a win-win. And that's your payment for Leon Lee being so difficult. I would do that with no guilt in my mind whatsoever. That's how you're going to get compensated for it, if you want to. Let me go full screen here again, because one of the things that I have difficulty with when I browse a network on a modern Windows 11 computer, security, you know, look, the internet's just filled with jerks. And these jerks are finding more and more ways to get into your computer, which means you have to find more and more ways to keep it locked down. So when you used to be able to easily look at your network shares, and you're like, oh man, Microsoft ruined this. Why did they have to make it so difficult? It's not Microsoft's idea to make it difficult. Microsoft's trying to protect you. And you know, the fact that you're not aware of all these people trying to break into your computer from all over the world, it boggles my mind that there's this complete ignorance that you're connecting to the World Wide Web. There's people in China and North Korea and Pakistan all over the world. And the first thing they want to do is encrypt your data. They don't want your data. They think you want your data, okay? And you'll be willing to pay for it to get it back. And they might say, oh, we'll expose it. Nobody cares. Nobody knows who you are, mostly. So it means nothing to anybody but you. They're not going to work very hard to do that. They're going to look for open doors, people that couldn't be bothered to lock their doors. So Microsoft responded with an update that locks your door. People don't even know they have a door. Most people have no idea. They say, I used to just walk right through this opening, and now there's a locked door. I got to get a key. Damn you, Microsoft. It's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, where this complete ignorance is resulting in anger and resentment against something that's there that they should be saying thank you for. They don't understand the dangers until it's affecting them. Then they care. So one of the things that changed is if I go to browse my network, and first of all, if you've ever networked a Windows computer before, it has never been easier. Anybody who complains how difficult it is clearly has never networked a computer before to understand how complex it used to be. Because this is bottom line simple. So on this brand new install, if you haven't molested your computer with all kinds of registry fixes and tweaks you're reading from strangers online, if you left it alone, then networking is really easy when you know what you're doing, which, by the way, takes about 2 seconds to learn. Well, 2 minutes. First thing it tells you, network discovery by default is turned off for security reasons. We want to turn on network discovery. Now, a lot of people are going to click yes without reading this. You want to click no. It's important. It's so important. People are so numb to these warning messages. They make an assumption quite often that if they're trying to do something, the answer is going to be yes. But in this case, the answer is no. Then we should see network shares start to propagate here on our network. So if I want to access our NAS, that's the DS1825, I double click on it. That used to be able to get me in, but the internet has become so full of aggressive jerks that they will get into that if you leave it open. That's what Microsoft is afraid of. Now, we have the entire LAN secured here. So we don't mind turning this off because we're only unlocking doors inside of the house. If you're already in the house, I got bigger problems than locked doors. On the other hand, if we're a hotel or a public building and we allow people to come and go, then we might want some doors only opened by certain people. So depending on how you use your computer, this may not be the right fix for you that I'm about to show you. So under the circumstances that we are on a secured LAN that only people within the building have access to, we don't need to put keys and locks on doors. So what I'm going to do is run these 2 network fixes that are a result of a Windows update that is there to protect me. And I want to say, you know what? I appreciate this protection. You're offering me a bodyguard. I'm using the restroom. I'd like to go alone. I don't need the bodyguard to follow me in there. It's my personal preference. So I'm going to copy this command right here into PowerShell. So I'll type in PowerShell and run it as an administrator. And then when the dialog box opens here, I'll hit Control V for pasting that command. I'll push Enter, and in a few seconds it'll ask me, am I sure? I click Y for yes. Then there's a second one right here, and I will apply that second one. Highlight that with my mouse, Control C for copy. Go back here, click once, Control V, right next to the letter C. That's paste. One more time, we say yes, and then I type exit, and I can close this window. That's a permanent fix. We never have to do that on this computer again. Now, when I click that yellow folder, and then I go to browse my network, I won't get the discovery error because we solved that one already. When I go to the Synology NAS, it should show me a file directory. And now we can access all our folders and files. What Microsoft wants you to do is create a username and password for each user on your network and give them individual permissions. In an office building, that may make sense. In a public building, that may make sense. But in my private house, maybe I don't even close the bathroom door if I live alone. Who am I closing it for? So it depends on how you're using and what you're using to determine the proper security protocols that need to be put in place for your individual needs, expectations, and personal preferences. So with that, that pretty much sets me up except for VLC. VLC is a free program. Download it, install it. If you ever download a media file that VLC won't play, it's probably a virus, and I strongly advise you to find another source of that media file. If it's a song or a movie or a video you've downloaded and it's not playing in VLC, it's likely bad or harmful. So wherever you got it, go searching again and find another source for that. If I bring this back up again, we'll go over to my VLC folder, and we'll go ahead and install that rather than download it every time. This is universally put on all computers. I've never had a client complain, never. And then we'll come over to the hardware monitor just to see what temps we're running at here. I hear the slight whistle coming from that small fan. And if I bring up the hardware monitor, whoops, that's not what I want. Let's see if I can finish that. I'm used to dealing with those budget machines. I didn't expect that to finish so quickly. All right. Where is my hardware monitor? Where did it go? I think I just updated it. I didn't mean to. That's what I meant to hit. All right, so if we look at our CPU, should be in here somewhere. I haven't used this program in a long time. I think I normally use HWinfo, don't I? I always confuse HWMonitor and HWinfo. They essentially do the same job, but the interface is a little more natural to me on HWinfo. Anyway, doesn't matter. There's our clock speed. Currently slowest that we recorded since the software started, the maximum we recorded. That this piece of software has recorded since we started the software, so it wasn't watching before it was running. Core temperature, RAM, SSD. Here's my CPU cores. This is why I don't like this piece of software. I know it's in there somewhere. I don't want to go digging for it. It's just my personal preference to use what I'm familiar with to be more efficient with it. So HWI is what I want. The reason I tell them apart is HWI has a much larger version number. So when I confuse them, I just go, okay, which one's like way bigger? This is version 8 versus version 1. But they do the same job, and you might feel the opposite. I might like Ford, you might like Chevy, I might like Honda, you might like Toyota, whatever. They're all valid. This is what I like. This is what I use. Because this is what I prefer. And I will get to what I'm looking for much faster because I'm familiar with it. CPU core temperatures right there. That's what I'm looking for. So those are our idle temperatures here. The currently running at 36. That's really, really good. Anything under 40 is ideal. Anything under 50 is fine. Anything over that at idle I'd be concerned about, but again, probably okay. But here we're so far below 40 anyway. That's really, really good. And of course, these are the minimum temps here on all the cores. We've got 8 cores on this. And then so far, that's the maximum it's recorded. Now, yes, we could do things like Cinebench and stuff like that. And I'm sure it's going to fly through there just fine. What I'd rather do is something more practical, and that is, let's just take a look in the BIOS. So let me go restart this, and I don't know which key the BIOS is, but let's just try and take a guess here with delete is usually the most universal one, but let's just see what happens. I'll start pressing delete now over and over and over again. That worked. Hey, we have a graphical user interface. I was not expecting that. I was expecting the old-fashioned text-based interface, which we mostly see on many of the mini PCs, but we're above that here. I like that. That is an unexpected yet welcome surprise. Let me get rid of camera 1 so you can see the whole screen. Source projector. Okay. Does the mouse work in here? Yeah. Look at this. Memory speed 5600. I don't recommend you change date or time in your BIOS. You let Windows do it, and Windows will change it in your BIOS automatically by default to whatever Windows says it is in your system tray. There is an auto power on and off setting. There's a BIOS flash enable setting, a wake on LAN setting. You can set, if you want more power out of this, you can come in here and you can throw more wattage at your CPU, which is likely going to make it run hotter with louder fans, but get a little bit more performance. If you'd rather the fans were quieter and it's more than fast enough, then you'll switch it to quiet. From the factory, they want to universally set it for the average ordinary purchaser of a unit like this. And so they do a balance between what is the difference between quiet and loud and what's the difference between slow and fast. And they go right in the middle with what they call balance. I prefer balance. I don't want this in performance mode if I'm leaving it on and walking away from it and it's running in performance mode for hours on end, consuming a lot more power, also generating potentially more noise, and ultimately degrading the lifespan of the silicon in it. But if what I'm doing is very important to get it done as quickly as possible, and I have to put this on performance, I would argue you underbought and you should have bought a more powerful processor that runs that fast in balance mode. But some people can never get enough. If you give them some, they want more. And if you give them more, then they want some more. If you tell them you got to pay for more, they don't want it anymore. Using this occasionally, you know, switching back and forth is fine. Leaving it on full time is fine too. Just expect less power efficiency, more fan noise. That's your main concern there, in exchange for a little bit more performance that you probably aren't going to even notice anyway outside of benchmarking. But hey, you do you. We've got RTC wake settings, graphics configuration, the TPM, CPU config, hardware monitor, I/O port access. That's all in there. The next thing in security, we've got just like a password to set to keep people out of your BIOS, our secure boot configuration, which I did not verify if it was on or off. But that's where we can turn that on if it's not on already. If you choose to, you don't have to at this point. Fast boot is enabled, which I would prefer. I can't see any reason why not to. Our boot order, again, we leave it all at defaults. I've got my USB utilities flash drive still plugged in, which is not bootable, so that's not hurting anything. Obviously, we don't have a CD or DVD drive, nor do we have an SD card reader in this, so I'm not quite sure why those are options. But regardless, I don't think they're hurting anything either. They just might add some confusion to less technical folks. Under save and exit, of course, we've got a boot override right in here. So if I did want to override the boot, I don't have to permanently override it, just the one time, like to reinstall Windows. So we're going to just go ahead and discard changes. We don't need to change anything, but that just will familiarize you with what the BIOS looks like, which again, I'm impressed with that. I did not expect that. I don't normally recommend people go into their BIOS. There's never really any reason for any normal's not a good word, common user to ever need to go in there. I don't recall any time where I would be advising a user to go into their BIOS unless I configured their computer with Windows 10 to ensure they would never get Windows 11 without their known permission, and I would manually disable TPM. Now they want Windows 11, now I need to get into their BIOS and turn the TPM back on. But when you're ordering a pre-built computer, everything's been done for you. You don't have to do stuff like that. If you want to, you should build your own and get that out of your system. The idea of buying it pre-built is it's a turnkey ready. Take it out of the box, plug it in, start using it. Just like an Apple computer. You don't hear Apple computer owners or even Apple iPhone owners talking about all these little manual tweaks they do when they take it out of the package. The reason they're buying that is so they don't have to. They probably can't do much anyway, even if they tried. It's built into the price that's been decided for you so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. They're not giving you the gun, okay? A lot less urgency and emergencies when they're in control of it instead of the end users. Same with me as an MSP. My clients are not permitted to make changes to the computer or network. It's common sense. If I'm the one you're going to call to clean up your mess, please just call me. Let me fix it for you. So at least if I make a mess, it's my mess I'm cleaning up and not yours. I am not paid. It is not the intention of my contract to be the person you call to clean up your mess. When you're paying me for service, my goal is to keep you up and running reliably and securely, to keep all the computers updated, the antivirus updated, and to look for early problems and fix them before they become problems the customer even knows they had. Then what's left are these, weird things. Computer doesn't start today. Nothing we can do about that. That still happens, but it happens a lot less often. It's a lot less stressful. Everybody's a lot happier. But if a client keeps screwing up and keeps asking me to fix their screw-ups over and over and over again, there's a different price for that service. And I'm happy to charge them for it, but I don't think they're going to want to pay it. But if they follow the steps in the contract that we sign, it saves them money, it saves them time, also saves me money and saves me time with fewer messes to clean up that were purely voluntary, unnecessary, and completely avoidable. So we have these processes in place not to benefit me, not just me, it also benefits the client. The client doesn't want to follow those rules, then we either adjust the price for that, or we just go, this isn't working out, nothing personal. We just can't do this and make a living, and then have you upset at us every time we have to bill you for it, or we get upset at you every time it comes out of our pocket to fix your problems, because that's not how you run a business. Not a successful one that's long lasting. That much I know for sure. Now, if home users did the same thing, they could probably find a lot less frustration. But some home users, they like to tinker, and if they do, again, I would just buy a separate computer for that, me personally. I want to check Secure Boot on here. I'm just curious. I don't really care. Secure Boot is really just optional at this point, and it can make working on the computer difficult. If Secure Boot is on and you can't boot to a Windows install drive or something else won't boot, you have to go into the BIOS and turn that Secure Boot back off temporarily. And if you're not of a technical mindset to even have any idea what I'm talking about right now, probably just leave it alone. That's the theme of today's video. So we go over here and just type in MS info, brings up system information, and scroll down to Secure Boot state right here. Now it says Secure Boot is off. If we want to turn it on and you feel technically comfortable enough to do this yourself, even though it's purely voluntary at this point, in the future it may be required. We don't know yet, but for right now it's still voluntary. What we'll do is we're going to go back into the BIOS, and we're going to set up the Secure Boot key, which should be built into the BIOS, by the way. We've had a few mini PCs that were prototypes where the keys were not in there, and the keys need to be provided by the manufacturer, not by you. Good luck figuring it out if you want to try it. That'll test your technical mettle. Let's go to security. Let's go to, scroll down, Secure Boot. And under Secure Boot mode, it says it's disabled. So this platform key, or PK, that's provided by the manufacturer. So we'll enable that. And I don't know if we have to do anything else. This mode changes the platform reset. I think, so every BIOS, many BIOSes explain this a little differently. This is much clearer to me than I've seen on even ASUS and MSI and Gigabyte and ASRock motherboards. I wish they were all this clear. Because if I'm understanding this correctly, this is all I need to do. Then if I come down here, it says save and reset is F4. So I'll push F4 on my keyboard. Have I been covering this up the whole time? I apologize, I forgot the camera was there. Let me escape out of that. So I'm talking about this option. Secure Boot was on disabled, I put that on enabled. That's it. Scroll down here, F4, and let's just see if Secure Boot turns on, if it's that easy. Because on the main systems that we've been building, the main systems, the traditional sort of towers we're building, it's definitely not obvious on how to do it. So is it going to be this obvious? Will it be this easy? I hope so, but if not, it just means we have to reset the keys back to the factory defaults. So let's take a quick look here. Right click full screen here for me. We're going to come over here to MS Info again, which brings up system information. I mean, come on now. Why is this not the standard in the industry? Thank you, Reatan. You have no idea. No idea how much I appreciate this little tweak. As I mentioned in the video earlier, it was my intention today to try, hold on, let me bring up camera one, to try this NVMe drive. But here's what I can tell you. The fan that I'm hearing making noise, it should be this fan down here. And what this fan is doing is it's cooling the NVMe drive that's in there that does not have a heatsink on it. The heatsink is attached to what the fan's attached to, that big metal plate. RAM doesn't really get that hot to begin with, not normally. So having air cooling the RAM, blowing air over it, it's nice, but not necessarily required. The reason I'm telling you this is if we wanted to, we could take this fan and plate out and leave it out. Take the NVMe drive out that's in here and replace it with this one that has its own heatsink, pop it in there, and put the back cover back on. That gets rid of the fan noise, that whine. It gives us a faster drive, and likely we won't have any heat issues. If we put two of these in there, I don't know. It might be fine. It depends how heavily you use them, because they're right next to each other. But if you're going to buy an NVMe drive, they do sell them with and without heat sinks. These ones that come with heat sinks are not easy to get the heat sink removed in most cases. They're really intended to be permanently attached. So consider that if you're purchasing an NVMe drive. It does cost more for an NVMe drive that has a heat sink. But why would we spend more when we already have what is likely a superior heatsink with a fan that would be much better suited to this machine to leave that fan in there and use two NVMe drives with heatsinks? But this starts to become a little bit more technical, and if that matters to you, and the idea of a fan down here adding potentially more noise you find to be disturbing, don't buy this unit. It's not made for you. Reatan makes lots of other units. This one is unique. We've never noticed this kind of an issue with other models before, and I don't know that this is universal or unique to the one I have. To me, it's not a big deal, and the performance and the value, I can live with a little bit of fan noise, a little bit of that whine to save how much money I'm saving to get this much power. But that's just me. You might feel exactly opposite. I'm not suggesting you should feel the way I do. I'm also not suggesting that you buy something you immediately have to disassemble to make it the way you like it. Just buy the right thing to begin with. As I mentioned, these are meant to be taken out of the box and used. People don't do that with Apple computers. They don't buy it. Generally, there's always somebody. They don't buy an Apple computer and immediately disassemble it. Who does that? Some content creator on YouTube. That's about it. All right, we're just at about the 2-hour mark. In fact, we are at the 2-hour mark. So any final questions, concerns, comments? This will be the time for you to ask me. I'll do my best to provide you a direct and honest answer. Bikeman said Secure Boot is required for Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty Black Ops, along with virtualization, security features, and TPM. Again, currently, as far as I know, it's not required for anything. And people say it's going to be required. When that happens, then of course, we'll let people know. But as far as I know, none of those are released, are they? So you're talking about foreseeing the future based on what you're reading and assuming what you're reading is true. And it very well might be, but that doesn't help us today. So again, fixing problems you don't have, seems like you're stuck in a loop here, bike man. You just keep looking at problems you don't have. But it may be true, but we have to wait and see. And of course, if it does affect you, you know what to do. So we're all good. Andy wants to know if this is a metal or a plastic case. It's both. primarily plastic, and I prefer plastic because your Wi-Fi signal is going to be significantly impeded with those nice metal aluminum cases. They look beautiful, but unless they have external antennas on them, your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth range are going to go down the toilet. But this mesh piece is all metal. There's like a thin mesh band over the top of it, which I really like that look, and I like the feel of it. Other than that, the rest of it's plastic. And of course, you've got the big metal heatsink inside of it. I was curious about this USB 4. Maybe we can check that right quick while we're here. I have that Silverstone drive over here. I think I still have a drive in it. Let me try this real quick. This should be a 40 gig per second external drive. I think there's an NVMe in there. I can't remember. So I remember the picture showed that the USB-C closest to the Type A is USB 4. Let's verify it. So let's come over here. Let's go to HDMI 3 and full screen for me. Let's see if there's any flash drive. Yes, I have a 2 terabyte flash drive in there. Okay, so let's go to Crystal Disk Mark. Crystal Disk Mark. And this time when we run it, we'll test the D drive, right? Because previously we tested the C drive. So we'll change that to D. And I'm only interested in these 2 top numbers because I don't want to wait for all those other numbers. They don't matter to me. If I see 3600 or somewhere around there, close to 4000, then we're running at 40 gigs per second. We'll never get the whole 40 gigs per second. That's not even close. Holy cow. That's 10 gigs per second, not 40. Okay, hold on. I might be in the wrong USB port. Let me stop this. Let's go back over to camera 1 for a second. I'm going to unplug this from this port here and plug it into this one just to see if either one of these is running at 40. So again, we're going to go back to the desktop and let's do this again. It still should be drive D. I'd like to see over 3000. That's what I'm looking for. There it is. Okay, so I had it backwards. The USB Type-C that's closest to the power button, that is your USB 4. It's a shame you don't get 2 of those, right? That they're both not the same. And it's also further a shame, and I've had very little to complain about with this Reatan or suggestions for improvement, but they need to label them. So far as I can tell, there is no labeling on the front of this computer that differentiates clearly which USB is 4 and which one is 3. But let me get my thicker glasses on, just take a closer look. It is painted on a black surface if there is writing on it. No, so far as I can tell, it's just a shiny piano black fingerprint magnet surface around those USB ports with no writing on them. So I would personally maybe grab a little label maker or something just to identify which is the fast port, unless, of course, you have no use for it. If you're not running anything USB 4, it really wouldn't matter to you if it was running in USB 4, unless you have something USB 4 to plug into it. Now you notice our write speed here. So the write speed at being 590, this is a lesson I've learned a couple of times, and now I remember that in order for us to get the write speed of 40 gigabytes, we have to turn write caching on the drive. And what that means is you'd go to Windows Explorer, you'd go to the affected drive here, which is volume D, right click, go to properties, under, where is it? Is it tools? Hardware. Property. Trying to remember. Hold on a minute. Volumes. No. Driver. No. Details. See, I remember what I have to do. I'm trying to remember how I do it. Tools. No. General details. No. Well, when push comes to shove, we're going to go to Copilot. How to enable drive write caching Windows 11. Oh, it wants me to go in disk management. I'm in the wrong place. So Windows plus the X key. The Windows key and the X key should open up disk. Oh, I see what it does. Then we'll choose disk management here. Click properties and then policy on the drive, which is this one here. Right click, properties, and then policies. Ah, here we go. We want better performance, enable write caching. Click OK. And we only want to do that on the USB 4 drive, not on our main C drive. Now let's run the same test again. Now in theory, we should get about the same number on the read, and our write speed should be much closer to that read speed. There was a pretty significant difference before. So we're pretty much getting what we're expecting on this side of things. It'll run that test 3 times, and it's going to skip over here, do our sequential writes, which you'll see it's got a little break, takes for 5 seconds. And here we go, it's preparing the file for testing, and hopefully we'll get about 3,000 or more here. There it is. You wouldn't know this out of the box. Most of us wouldn't know it. So that's there as a friendly reminder. But yes, that is USB 4, and in fact, it works exactly as you would expect. And when you consider that for this price point, well, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find, and I'll keep saying it because the technology just keeps moving up. So when I've told you in the past, you're probably not going to find some other model with some other equipment at a cheaper price, I'm going to repeat that again. And I encourage you to prove me wrong. I would love for you to prove me wrong, because if there's a better value of a mini PC that's giving you more power or more RAM or more storage, or it's faster, or it's giving you more USB 4 ports that is this price or less, please don't keep that information to yourself, because I'd love to get one and share it with the rest of the audience. Our thanks to the folks at Reatan for sending us this unit so that we can evaluate it. Color me impressed. If you want to know how you would wipe out Windows and reinstall it, if you follow yesterday's video, we went through that on the Nemo laptop, the same steps on mini PCs, laptops. You back up your drivers, you wipe out the drive with a clean install of Windows 11, put your drivers back on, put your updates back on. It's real easy, and it's the exact same process, even though it's a completely different computer. If you're interested in that, be sure and watch yesterday's video on the Nemo laptop. Okay. There was one other thing I was going to check. Uh-oh, Mara's coming. Am I in trouble?
Always.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
just be glad I don't have my big shoes on.
No, I am glad.
You have an email.
I have an email.
You do.
Just one?
So are you going to test that drive?
Well, unfortunately, there's a big old heatsink in here.
Yeah.
That this heatsink will clash.
Yeah.
They won't be able to.
Take it out.
You want me to take that out, plug this in?
Yeah, I do.
It'll take care of the whine too, I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
Why
two
is that
fans.
in it?
The whine could be coming from the CPU fan, but I don't think it is.
Sure.
Well,
Let's find out.
since you've asked,
I'm so curious.
I am happy to accommodate.
And you got a dear job.
It's not right to hit a woman, right? I'm just kidding. She hits me, though. All right, $5 from our friend Roy Shaver. Thank you, Roy. Was there a comment in there? Roy joining us from North Carolina. Thanks, guys. All right, so let's try it. We'll unplug this. By the way, when you turn that write caching on, you really want to eject this before you unplug it. This is empty, so I'm not worried about corrupting anything. But one of the reasons it's safe to just unplug USB is because write caching is default as off. And in most cases, the USB things you're plugging in would not run at those speeds. And in order to run at those speeds, we have to disable that safe disconnect. But just because we're not safely disconnecting it doesn't automatically mean there's going to be damage. It's just there's a potential. Anyway, yeah, we'll take a look at the GiGiMundo. Now, why the GiGiMundo? What is it about this? Well, if we look at the Amazon page here, once again, we're going to talk about value, performance, and warranty combined. I would challenge each and every one of you to find a better drive or one that's equivalent in size, warranty, and performance at a cheaper price with the built-in heatsink, because when I share this page with you, here we go. Just to give you a point of reference, before you establish value here, if we were looking for the Samsung 970 EVO Plus 2 terabyte without a heatsink on it, remember I used to use a lot of those, what would that cost us today? $188 is how much that drive sells for. That's a generation 3, meaning it can only run up to 3,600 megabytes per second. There's no heatsink. It's nearly $200. Western Digital Black, I've used a lot of these. This is a generation 4 drive that runs twice as fast, same warranty, $120 is on sale. Okay? And I mention that because when we go to GiGiMundo, we take a look at their offering, we have a 2 terabyte drive, shows it's $135, but there's a 15% off coupon. Now that's going to take off about, well, what's 10%? $13.50, and then half of that. It's going to take off about 20 bucks. So that's going to make it about $5 cheaper than the Western Digital with the heatsink included, which the Western Digital does not have at that price, and run at the same or faster speeds with the same 5-year warranty.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, another email, right on. Yeah, see that read speed there? 7,450 megabytes per second, assuming you have a computer that can go that fast. So, okay, let me check the email right quick. Oh, our friend Mark Gaines with $38.82 said, here's a few dollars for the channel. Right on, thank you, Mark. Okay, so in order to do this test, what I'm going to need to do is get me back to, oh, and look at the reviews. I mean, it's a pretty new device, so not that many people have them. Looks like one person was not happy, but not entirely. Just a 4-star. That's, how bad could it be if it just taken off 1 star? All right, I don't know, but let's do this. Let's go back to camera 1. Now let's go back to this desktop and properly shut this down. And then once this is off, then what we can do is we definitely want to unplug power from it. We don't want to work on a computer, even if it's off. Doesn't matter if it's a desktop, laptop, or mini PC. For safety reasons, not for your safety necessarily, but for the safety of the equipment that can be sensitive, we want to unplug the power. This protects your investment, apart from, you know, any damage you could cause by physically harming it. This reduces those odds of any damage. If you do everything else with care, it starts with the anesthesia. Okay, we don't want to open this up and operate it on it without anesthesia. So while it's got power, it feels all the pain that you may be unknowingly creating. When you pull power, it's out, it's numb. All right, well, let's see if taking it apart the second time is any easier than it was the first time. It was pretty easy the first time too, so I'm just trying to be funny about it. Yeah, he kind of funny. after we do this a few times, we'll just get faster and faster, you know. Let me get this out of my shot. Put it over there. Get that over here. Now, for the sake of going quickly, I'm not going to put any of these screws back into it because this is just a temporary test. See, it's a good thing I didn't over tighten those, and then I'd be struggling to get those out. I would have just done that to myself. Okay, so I'm removing the top heat plate. Well, I guess it's the bottom heat plate, isn't it? Technically. CPU is the top. It's the other side. I don't know why this screw consistently... The others come out fine. This one likes to stay in there. So I'm going to try and... We'll lift it out, see if I've taken that screw out far enough. I did. And we're going to unplug this fan again. Okay. Just put it over here. I just got to remember I got a screw in there. And we'll take the GiGiMundo drive here. Let's unbox it. And in the package, hey, I got another screwdriver that's like this one. All right, got some documentation that I'll be sure to read sometime. Never. A driver. There's a screw. That's nice that they're starting to include screws now. What's interesting is this heatsink, unlike a lot of other manufacturers, it is removable. Just a couple of screws here and here. And you could take this off. I wasn't expecting that. I'm used to Samsung and Western Digital. They really glue those on. This one is removable though. It's a pretty nice looking NVMe drive. I'll bring it up closer. Let's walk over here. And attractive. I don't know that I'll ever look at it, but it's attractive. Now let's just say we wanted to upgrade this NVMe that's in here, or we wanted to add another NVMe drive. We can verify this other port is also Gen 4 while we're doing this. I believe it is, but we'll try it. We could take this heatsink off in this case and put it all back together. On the other hand, I could also simply replace this drive. I could also leave it in there or add a heatsink to this drive and keep this whole top, or I keep calling it the top, but you know, the whole fan piece could be removed and replaced so long as we've got a cooling solution for NVMe drives, especially if they're higher performance NVMe drives. But you'll notice what I had mentioned before is there's no way for this to go in there. There's no screw that holds it down. So what you have to do is you have to take this piece off, this brass piece that it's there to attach this. We could take that off entirely. We don't even have to put that back. In theory, if I just loosen this and take this out, We could use that, again, to hold the drive in place, or we can just leave it to go with the lid, because they've given us a screw, and if we put the NVMe drive in here, set it in, now it will sit flat, and we can put the, even though this didn't come with a screw, we can either screw this back down to hold it in, or if you don't like the way that looks, we can just use the screw that it came with.
Yeah.
And another email, right on. Okay, we'll get to that here in just a second. Not all these screws are universal, so I'm just curious, will this one fit? Zoinks. The magnet on this is really weak. Ah! Oh, that one's working better. Yeah, the included screw does fit, even though they're two different manufacturers. They don't work together. They don't participate cooperatively with each other's businesses. It just works. It's compatible. So I'm going to just put the bottom back on it, but I'm not going to screw it down. Just snap it in. We'll grab power here. Come back over to camera 1. Let's grab the power cable. We'll plug it in, we'll initialize the drive, and we'll run Crystal Disk Mark on it. So we'll turn that on. We're going to go over to HDMI 3, this video output here. There we go, and we're booting. So remember, we're booting to the Kingston drive. The drive we just installed has no partition or format. So we're going to do that as soon as Windows comes up. Then we can test it for speed. Hey, our friend Barry Klein with an Amazon gift card of $25.29. Right on. Thank you, Barry. No, I'm still hearing the whistle, so it is not coming from that fan. It's coming from the CPU fan. Now I'm starting to wonder if it's that mesh that I like the look of so much is letting that sound through, where normally the top of a mini PC is sealed and the airflow is going to come in from the sides and out the back. I wonder if this is a consequence of this design. So the good news, or I don't know if it's good news or not, but we can identify that this fan was not making any noise. The noise that I'm hearing, that pitch, that's coming from the fan on top. And the ventilation on top is likely allowing a lot more noise through. It's not as well insulated from noise, but it's also probably getting better airflow. So I don't know. And maybe it's just this one unit. This is the only one I have to check. I don't know if I had 3 or 4 of these that they would all sound the same. So just keep all that in mind. If we go to the, let's go back over here, go back to the desktop, go full screen again, and then I'm going to right click on the task manager, or sorry, right click on the start button, go to disk management. It should automatically detect we have a new drive installed. It does, so I just click OK. And then it shows this disk 1. I right click on that, new simple volume, and next, 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 finish. It's ready. Now I'm going to bring up Crystal Disk Mark right over here. Once again, this should still be drive D where we left off, and we'll run all the performance numbers on this. So as a reminder and for a comparison, the drive we've got is Gen 4 running at 6107 on our test. Let me minimize that a little bit. You know what? Let me just drag this over here. So you see not a real big difference with regards to performance. They're already very close to the top end on Gen 4. But we're going to let all the tests run on this one just to get an overall of the IOPS on the different file sizes and the write speeds. But we're about 15% faster. Maybe 18%. But with the heatsink on there, we shouldn't need the fan in there anymore. But since the fan's not causing me any grief, I'd rather have the fan in there personally. But that's just my personal preference. As long as your NVMe's have heatsinks on them, you should be fine, even under heavy I/O load. But I would save money and buy the NVMe drive without the heatsink. It'll cost you less. And just continue to use the one that came with the mini PC with the fan. It'll be far superior. Well, that's running. Let me take another look in our chat room. Vermont said he just got a mini PC, and now his friends have the mini PC bug. They want one too. Most people don't know how much they want one until they see one. It's very easy to dismiss how powerful these are based on how small they are. Dealt with that my whole life. Don't mind me, I crack myself up. So we're about 1,000 faster on the reads and 1,000 faster on the sequential writes.
No.
Another email. Oh, I'm getting popular. All right. David Graham sends an Amazon gift card for $10. He goes, "Thank you. I looked all over for that network fix." Right on. Well, I'm glad it helped you. And thank you for the Amazon gift card, David. Scrolling through the chat. Let's see. Barry Klein calls it carry acquisition syndrome. He sees the stuff we show and he wants a lot of it. It is some pretty cool stuff. We're lucky enough that a lot of it gets sent to us for review. And one of the reasons I say yes is because, yeah, I want to take a look at it. I'm not doing it because I have to. I do it because I want to. And I don't really think about the consequence it has on some viewers going, "Hey, I got to have that." But hey, you know what? If it's something we introduce you to that you didn't know existed, it solves a want, need, desire, all the power to you, man. At least we're not selling snake oil and things aren't like, you know, high-end name brand expensive Sony and Samsung stuff. If anything, we just discourage you from Samsung by just showing you the price on that older Generation 3 2TB drive that's way too much money. But it's got that name Samsung on it. To Mayo Clinic says, "I think I'm going to make this purchase. It's a nice mini PC. It's an awesome price." And again, you have complete peace of mind when it comes to if you don't like it. If you're buying it from Amazon, you have 30 days for a complete free return. Cost you nothing to return it, and you get a 100% full refund back to you if you don't like it. There's no benefit for you to make a purchase you're going to return. Nobody likes it. You're not going to like it because the only reason you're returning it is something's not right or it's not meeting your expectations. So you're not happy. Amazon then has to process a return that costs them money. They don't want to do that. The manufacturer then has to decide if it's something they can refurbish and resell, or if it's just going to be sold in bulk at other return items and let someone else deal with it. They're losing money. They're not happy. The only one that's not losing any money is the customer. So if a customer buys something they don't like with that 30-day free return, it doesn't make any sense why a customer would complain. I know why Amazon would complain. You know, return too much stuff to Amazon and see how long they're going to let you keep buying. You start costing them too much money, you won't be a welcome shopper there anymore. But you've got to be really excessive. You don't have to worry about returning, you know, if you're returning more than 10% of what you're buying, that could become an issue. I think 10% is fine. When you exceed 10%, when you get up around, you know, if you're returning 1 out of every 5 things you order, you know, around 20%, and you do that routinely on a regular basis, Amazon will probably ask you to, well, they won't ask you, they just won't allow you to shop there anymore. Because now you're costing them so much money, they can't sustain that. But it doesn't matter how much something is. If it's $10 or $3,000, I've never had any issue returning items regardless of their value, and no repercussions whatsoever. Like I said, the manufacturers don't like it, cost them money. Amazon doesn't like it, it costs them money. The worst thing an end user could say is, I wasted my time, but you got a full refund and it didn't cost you anything to return it. There's no restocking fees. None of that nonsense. When you make sure, it's not universal on all Amazon products. I don't mean it to sound like that. I only universally buy Amazon Prime products. If it's not on Amazon Prime, I don't buy it. That's why I failed to mention this little disclosure that I don't even consider buying it if it's not Amazon Prime. I always look for Amazon Prime as an Amazon Prime customer. I get free 2-day, sometimes overnight shipping for free. I have those free 30-day returns universally on Amazon Prime purchases, unless it's food. Even if it's food you didn't open, they're not taking it back. They'll still likely give you a refund for it. So if you get, you know, one time I ordered some meat sticks and they had mold on them. And I said, hey, these are moldy. I'm not going to eat these. I'm looking right through the package. I'm not even opening the package. They said, can you send us a picture of it? So I took my phone, took a picture, sent it to Amazon. And they said, go ahead and throw it away. Do whatever you want to do with it. You can do whatever you want. We don't want it back. And there's your refund. Now, if you want to use the refund and go buy another one, that's up to you. But generally, they don't replace it. They just refund it. And if you want to replace it yourself. One time we ordered some steak sauce from Mara and they sent us a medical battery charging device that's like $300 when we ordered a $10 bottle of sugar-free steak sauce. G. Hughes is the name of it. Good stuff if you're trying to keep a healthier diet. Mara loves it. So imagine when we get the package of steak sauce and inside is a very specific battery charger designed for medical equipment. So when I add the word medical equipment, you can about triple its regular price of any other battery charger. We say to Amazon, you send us a battery charger. They go, yeah, but you ordered steak sauce. Right. So what I'd like is the steak sauce. How do I return the battery charger? Amazon customer service says you can't return food. No, I don't want to return food. I want to return this battery charger. It's worth like $300 if I look it up on the Amazon site to see what the hell is it you sent me. They're like, no, you ordered a food item. Right. And I received a battery charger. Right. But the Amazon system isn't that smart. The Amazon system cannot accept a return on steak sauce. That's what your receipt says, because it's a food item. Even though you were sent a non-food item, we have no record of it. We can't accept it back. So what do you want me to do with it? They said, look, you can donate it, you can throw it in your recycle bin, you can give it away to a friend. Because your receipt says you ordered food, the system locks us out from accepting any kind of return, regardless of what you received. Okay, I got it. So can you just send me another bottle of steak sauce? No, I cannot. I can refund your money, and you can go back and order another bottle of steak sauce. Like, well, what difference does it? That's our policy, guy. Okay. It didn't cost me any money, right? There was a lot of confusion regarding corporate policies. And it probably goes much deeper when you're working behind the scenes on why these rules exist. They're not just arbitrary. But she got her steak sauce, and we ended up, I think we took that battery charger over to Goodwill. Be ashamed to throw it away. It was brand new, and it had quite a lot of value. Suppose we could have sold it on eBay and used the money to buy some steak sauce. Bill Sony T says the Soyan video on the Intel N150. Where is that video? Let's go over here real quick. Let me come back. I'm also going to check our final numbers on there. Go full screen. Full screen mode. There I am. Okay. So yeah, you can see this is a higher end drive than what's included, but not by much. But also very aggressively priced and worthy of consideration if you're thinking about Western Digital or Samsung or other name brands. Why spend the name brand tax if you're going to get a drive that performs as good as or better than, includes the heatsink, and has the same warranty? Something worth consideration. So yeah, I've got no qualms about recommending the GiGiMundo. We don't have enough of them. You know, we just have the one, and this is our only experience with it. But they're not the chip makers. They're just selling the NVMe drive. So likely it's using all the same chips and controllers that the bigger name brands use, but they have to price it more aggressively to get you to consider buying it from them. If they charge the same price as the big brands, why not go with what you're familiar with? So they can entice you to stay away from the bigger brands by offering you the same or better, oftentimes using the same chips, the same ingredients, and sell it to you at a cheaper price with the same warranty. Something to think about. All right, let's go to YouTube. And Carrie Holzman Soyan. I'm assuming I'm spelling that right. Let me think about this for a minute. Yeah, probably got to spell Soyan right. So we did two Soyans. We did the N100, and you mentioned the N150. Now we're getting a bunch of N150s in our results. Let me go back to the original search of Soyan. I'm trying to remember if that's the video we originally took Linux off of that one. We did that on the second one as well, but I was having issues locating an unknown driver, which turned out to be for the HID driver, which I don't normally have to provide that, but now it's becoming sort of expected on these N100s and N150s. I know that now, but I didn't know it then. And I think I spent 90 minutes of that video stubbornly trying to put the most common device manager missing drivers on, and it never occurred to me to put the HID. And so I think that video got removed and was remade in this video, showing a much more efficient process. And I think even in this video, I struggled to locate the HID driver and ended up, now I have a process, by the way. Now what I do is I found a model of, I think, Minis Forum, that is the N100, N150, where I can just download the Minis Forum driver package. So I think there was a third video, if I'm not mistaken, where it all went smoothly, exactly, super easy. But we could not go to Soyan's website because they don't have one. So there were no drivers for us to download. And I did not back up the drivers before I began because it was on Linux.
so those drivers wouldn't work in Windows. So I said, we'll just wipe it and we'll get the drivers. And the HID driver, the human interface device driver, was one I've never had to put on manually before. But now that I've seen it the first time, I've seen it multiple times since then. And now I have a working solution.
Email.
Oh, and another email. All right. And the reason we bought that Soyan, we bought it. We've never worked with Soyan. They've never worked with us. We don't even know how to reach them. There's no website. There's no email. But that was the whole point of it. I just didn't expect it to be that much of a learning curve. But now I know. And if we did it a fourth time, it'd go lickety-split, super easy. I don't want to repeat what I've already done, but if there's another newer model of lower-priced Linux-based computer that we want to slap Windows 11 on, it's totally doable now. And it's now that I know how to do it, I just know an alternative source for those drivers, and I know exactly which drivers I need now. And I did leave that on the review on Amazon. I left a review letting other people know that if you want to put Windows on it, specifically you need this driver, and specifically you need that driver, and you can source them from another mini PC manufacturer that has a website and support, and just use their drivers instead, which is what I had to do. And if you're not prepared to do that, you probably don't want to buy this PC. Just as a reminder, they have no website, they've got no drivers. If you want just a cheap Linux box and you intend to use it the way it ships out of the box, well, then nothing's changed. In email, let's see, we have Frankie B. Frankie B sends an Amazon gift card. He says, here's a little something to help you out. Right on. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, of course, to Barry Klein, David Graham. Thank you as well out to our friend Luke Greenia, Mark Gaines, and our friend Buster, of course. Roy Shaver, thank you for your super chat, or your PayPal contribution as well. And speaking of super chats, I'll shout out to everybody who's supporting us that way today. If I take a look here at my viewer activity, I should see a history. Yes, David Graham contributed $2. Wants to know, can you put your network fix in the notes? No, because that has nothing to do with the notes today. I have a series of videos showing this network fix over a dozen times. If you'd like a link to one of those videos, I'd be happy to provide it. I'm not here to confuse the viewers, and I'm not going to keep reposting the same fix over and over because you didn't bookmark it or take a note of it. Well, I do appreciate your support. I also need your cooperation. It's on you. This is now the 6th or 7th or 8th time I've shown this fix. Make a note of it, man. So if you're asking for the link, please send us an email. We'll be happy to send you the link for that. Then I expect you to bookmark it, or at the very least, copy it, in Notepad, make a note to yourself. There's nothing more frustrating than people that they just can't be bothered to go look, and they want me to keep repeating. It drives me crazy. So please just go ahead and just ask in email. That's the proper way, regardless. And if you don't want to make a note of it, and you don't want to remember it, and you don't want to bookmark it, every time you need it, please email us. Or bookmark the page, and you don't have to ask for that help anymore. All right? I just want to make sure that you're getting what you need in the future. All right? And without having to wait for us to respond, you can instantly get your own answer. If you don't want to do that, you're always welcome to email us, but I'm not going to customize the notes for you specifically over something that has nothing to do with today's video. Ian Gooch, thank you for the £10 super chat earlier. He says, hello from London, England, and everyone in the chat. Carrie, here's a few coppers for your coffer. Right on, thank you for that. Peter VZ, thank you, as always. Our friend Craig Casabona with a $20 super chat. I think I missed it earlier. Thank you, Craig. Thank you to Nick Caffrey, who renewed membership. And Yuffie Lee Roberts, who just became a member. Is it Yuffle? Yuffie? Yuffali? I'm not sure. Thank you for becoming a supporter here. Welcome in. I'm sorry how to pronounce your name, but we're glad to have you here. out of curiosity, just out of curiosity, and just to make a point here, because I want to teach a man to fish, right? I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I want you to be self-reliant. And if I've already shown you how to be self-reliant 6 times, and you weren't paying attention or you didn't care, but now today you care, let me show you how you can make that attempt on your own very, very easily. So if we come back over here, and we're going to go to our desktop, since we're still in YouTube anyway, if you type any YouTube search involving a video with me, start with my name, all one word, then what you're looking for. This is unique to YouTube search. So you're looking for a network fix, right? And let's see, does it come up? Did I mistype it? No, I think I'm okay. There's a laptop repair. I might have to be more specific. Windows 11. And what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at who the creator is. I'm looking for me, or I'm looking for my thumbnail. This is advertising. I don't know what this is. It has nothing to do with me. Someone's stolen my name, and they're taking your search, and they're using an automated system to create a link they want you to click on. I do not endorse this. I strongly advise you to stay far away from it. So we're looking at who the creator is. Here it says it's sponsored. None of my videos will say that. If it's genuinely mine, it will not say that. So normally, I would expect that search to come up real easily, but people use different words and terms, and at the time when we set these videos up, we use keywords that are recommended by Google. As a result, or YouTube, let's do network share. Maybe it's the word share. Let's see if it's in there. Oh, that's our 10 gig network. That's a little, see, it's interesting, just those different keywords. It's really impossible for us to guess what you're typing into search, but usually the most obvious things will lead to those answers. And I know I'm not alone in providing the solution. Like, I didn't create it. I just learned it somewhere else and shared it. I just have a bigger platform that people are more likely going to find it. When you do the share and you have a problem, you're likely going to get the error. So it's like 0x0. I don't know what it is, but if we type in the error number, that is also another way. And then finally, you know, I have this quick tips channel. And it could be in there as well. So here's the other thing. Some of our videos were made members only because there's nothing worse. Yeah, here's the error right here. So like I said, I'm not the only one providing the fix, but if you want my video and you are a member, you can always look. Your search results will be different than mine because this is not signed in. This is like a, you know, there's no sign-in account on this YouTube page I'm on the mini PC. But if I come over to the streamer and I do a search over here, because I'm signed in, I will see the members only videos. So if it's been made members only, it's likely because it has value, and we don't want to give that away for free necessarily. Why would people pay for something they can get for free? So let me do a quick search. If I just go to my channel, let's see, view your channel, and we'll look under my videos. This wouldn't be under live, so just be under videos. And I don't post videos, you know, non-live videos very often. So instead of searching, I'm just scrolling through the latest videos. They're posted in order of when they were published. And I thought for sure see, the thing that drives me crazy is every time we set up a new mini PC, I show you this. Every single mini PC video you will watch here, I go through that fix. But if you're asking me to find the very specific video that's dedicated to just that fix, it is here. I don't know why it's not coming up. I honestly thought, okay, there's our Synology fix there. I'll do a search for the word Windows, hold on keyboard. Windows 11 network. Okay, that didn't search my channel. That's searching all of YouTube. Windows 11 network fix. Oops. We have changed the search terms on this over a dozen to 24 times. We specifically asked people, what did you type to find this fix? And very few people told us the same thing. Everybody's typing in something different. And so we keep trying to tune it so that more people can find it, but without everybody agreeing on what they're searching for, we've kept adjusting it in order to find a sweet spot that gets the most attention. And what I would recommend is just email us and we'll send it to you. We're going to have to look back at the SEO on the search terms on that.
I just fixed the tags. Check your messages. Kind of know why you're not going up. Your messages.
Check the messages on my phone.
That's
So it's the error message.
yes.
So if we do the actual error, and the error is displayed two different ways. This would be path not found, but there's also the error code. This is going to separate us from all of the other content out there. And although you might have changed the search terms, Mara, it's not yet taken effect. Sometimes it takes 24 hours for these to take effect. So we're not going to try and fix this search engine optimization live. The content is there. We keep showing it on every single mini PC we've ever shown since we showed you the fix. Plus, we have the dedicated fix video here on the Computer Quick Tips channel. And furthermore, you could just email us. So I think I wasn't expecting the search terms to be out of whack like that. It definitely seems to be pulling up other people's content and not my content, even though I'm specifically asking for my content. And I'm a little puzzled by that, but that just tells me YouTube's search is not working optimally. So between Mara updating the keywords and tags, as well as, so the problem is, I got people saying, where's the Synology fix? Where's the fix for this? Where's the driver backup how-to? Where's the network fit? And I'm like, guys, they're all there. They're all there. They go, well, how do I find them? You search for them, but I can't find them. Okay, well, if you search for it, you can't find it. Send us an email. We'll send it to you. And it's part of the frustration we're having with YouTube. The search shouldn't be doing this. I don't think we're doing anything wrong. We're just not getting enough of the YouTube algorithm. So let's say you have a channel, I have a channel, and you've posted something that fixes it, or maybe you're defining the fix differently, but you're using the same search words, but you get more views than I do, then you're going to be above me in the search. That's just how it works. So if these videos aren't getting enough views, that's why they're not showing up right away, and you may have to dig down deeper. But I promise you they're there. And again, if you don't want to search for them, you can just email us and we'll send it to you. Because I can find it lickety split when I'm logged in and looking through my own channel. But it shouldn't be that difficult. But there's only so much we can do. If we're not getting the views, we're going to appear below other people who have similarly titled videos that have more views than us. Until YouTube changes that to what's most relevant, I don't know what else we can do. It's very frustrating. Essentially, the only fix for this is for me to keep posting that same video over and over and over again. And if we post that video 200-300 times, I am sure nobody will have a problem finding it, and it will drive the vast majority of you crazy. And you're going to curse me out and go, why do you keep posting the same content? So what would you do if you were me? It's tough. All right, let me get back over to the chat. Barry Klein said, this right here is the irritation from YouTube. If a creator can't find his own video, then the search system is screwed up. I agree, but even I can't remember. I've changed the search words so many times. And if I type in the actual error, the 0x008352, I'm not going to type all that in on a live video. I will sit down at my desk and I'll find it in 2 seconds. But, you know, something like this, ideally, it would show right up. I agree. The only solution is for me to just keep reposting the same content. The reason I make the content is so I don't have to keep repeating myself. So now what we've evolved to, because I keep getting the same questions over and over and over again, is to just keep reposting the old content they never watched the first time. And that means all the regular viewers who've seen it now 4 times, they're going to start getting angry and fatigued at the repeated information constantly over and over and over again. Carrie, did you give up making videos? No. Well, why do you keep posting the same old content? Because people keep asking where it is. But we're not asking where it is. Yeah, but they are. Well, we don't care about them. We care about us. We don't want to see the same old crap. Okay, but they said they don't care about this new stuff when they want the old stuff and they can't find it. It's a preposterous position to be in. So if I'm not repeating myself, then I have to repeat the videos. Ideally, YouTube would just be able to show it in search. Part of that's on us for the search words we use, but part of it's on the viewers for not watching enough of our content to raise us up in the search results. Which is going to come first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. But that's the reasoning behind it, as I understand it. You know, the algorithm's still a mystery regardless, and the minute you figure it out, they change it. It's like trying to figure out how your credit score works. But, you know, YouTube's doing what they can to avoid intentional manipulation for search results, which still happens, but it's always temporary because the minute people start to exploit it, YouTube changes it and then they start over again. And the rest of us being genuine and honest, we're falling down in the results as a result of not playing that game. We're playing the game by 2 different sets of rules. The people trying to take advantage, YouTube trying to stay on top, and us just trying to be honest. It's frustrating. Yeah, and nothing to worry about, David. Like I said, there are some questions which we should be able to answer live and turn out to be a little bit more complicated. And we're not going to fix the initial issue while we're live. We'll take that offline. Mara and I will take a look at what's going on there. But we can't do that while we're live. And I'm not going to change the video notes on this video for something that's really irrelevant that we've shown millions of times before. So for that reason, when that happens, we're more than happy to help. It's just sometimes we need to take the help offline. It's just easier and faster than trying to do it live. If I would have known that, I would have told you that right off the gate. But I thought it would have been pretty easy for me to find. But again, between our search terms, and you know, being live and trying to help other people and do other things, once we spend so much time on it, it's like, okay, that's it. We have to move on. But we can spend all the time in the world when it's an email and we're off camera. So it's not a problem. You didn't do anything wrong. And again, as a member here, you know, we certainly will go above and beyond for our members. Absolutely. And it doesn't, we don't mind. I'm annoyed at YouTube right now. And I'm also a little annoyed at having to keep repeating myself. So I don't know. We might have to just start reposting content. You're not alone. You're not the only one who's done this. We're seeing a frequent pattern of this multiple times a week. We get the same questions. And oftentimes I can copy and paste the emails, replies. They're the same over and over again. So somebody says, where's the video that covers this? They've asked it so many times. We already have a buffered response to copy and paste because they're not finding it. So, you know, we can repost the video, or we just deal with the people that email, we answer them, and just, this is just never ending. It'll be something else next time. Until YouTube fixes that search, or we learn what the secret is to putting every possible keyword someone might be coming up with to find a solution. Everybody's different. It's difficult. But regardless, sometimes with email, it's just a better way for us to focus in on you and you alone. And when we don't mind at all, just so you know, it's no bother. The email address, if you want to know, I'll put it right back up on the screen. So here's another example. For over a year now, we've been asking people to use this email address to reach us. And I have had people reach out to me on Facebook when I've asked them not to. I've had people reach out to me on my personal email when I've asked them not to. I've had people to send me private text messages when I've asked them not to. And I've been asking, not demanding, I'm asking. And I'm saying, please, if you want to reach us in the most efficient way possible with anything show related, as a viewer, please use this email. Now, if you've bought a computer from me and if we've already had some prior dialogue in another form of communication, including phone calls, that applies to you, not to everybody else. So when I have viewers reach out to me, and again, this is happening multiple times a week, even now. Just the other day, someone reached out on Facebook. I've been a viewer of yours all along. I was wondering if you could help me with this problem. But clearly, if you're a viewer, why you know not to message me this way? So I don't think you've watched my videos in a long time. I think what happened was they friended me on Facebook 6 years ago. They used to watch my videos. They lost interest or they moved on. Now they're having a computer problem, and the first thing they think is Carrie, and they message me, and they haven't watched my content, or they know to reach out there. If anybody knows how to solve these problems, I'd really appreciate it, because I really want to help people, and I don't want to shut it down and go, never mind. Nobody's fault. Well, not nobody, but too many people have to get this information privately tutored rather than publicly in the video. So again, I'm just repeating myself. How can we drive Carrie crazy? Let's keep asking him the same question every day for the next, until he breaks. Then we'll set bets on when he cracks. It's the Truman Show. You got to laugh at it. You got to, you know, what can you do? All right. Hey, there's Planet Cryos popping in and saying hello. Oiscog says hello. There's Essential Working Too Hard and John Paul Bacon there, and Shabir. So yeah. All right, and fair play to you there, David Graham. We looked for it too, and it's not coming up like it used to. It used to just pop up, so something's changed. All right, with that, I think it'll wrap it up for today. We're just over 3 hours here. I enjoy hanging out with you guys, and I enjoy your questions, even if I get a little frustrated sometimes. That's not on you, that's on me. And we'll find more optimal ways, more efficient ways of being able to get those answers to you quicker. And you know, if it is that difficult, there's likely something that you're bringing to our attention we need to fix that we wouldn't know if you didn't bring it to our attention. So we appreciate that. Thanks, of course, to Mara for all the work she does in the background, making our thumbnails and doing all the video description. And of course, thanks to the folks over at Reatan for sending this unit for evaluation. I think it's a pretty good deal. Couple things I'm a little nitpicky about. I like the USB 4 though. I like that a lot. 2.5 gig networking, the Wi-Fi 6E. I mean, for this price, that's a lot of bang for the buck. I would still find areas for improvement, but in doing so would probably raise the price. So just keep that in mind. We have the links to the product along with the coupon. I don't know how long the coupon is good for. I don't know how much inventory is there. So it is what it is. The links are in the video below. If you want to reach out to us privately, you know, again, we encourage that. Please use the email that was on display. If people still looking for Windows or Microsoft Office keys, we can still get them for you. You'll need to email us for that information, and we can take care of that back behind the scenes. Well, SCD keys gets whatever this issue is worked out. We can still make purchases, and we'll just have to do it on your behalf. And reach out to us for current pricing and availability at the email address. More than happy to help you out. And I think that's it. It's Friday. We're back on Sunday. I have a network attached storage drive I've been very interested in, but could never really justify the expense. I can show you real quick. Customer of mine called, and they're having a unique problem with an old Synology, really old Synology. And they want to not only replace it with something more modern, they want to replace it with something as modern as possible, because they don't want to do this again anytime soon. Now the Synology they've got, I think, is a Rackstation 819. It's what, 6 years old? And the unit, I think, is going to be perfect for them, just also so happens to be a unit I've been wanting to get my hands on. So we're going to solve two problems here. One, we're going to get this content. Two, we're going to get this set up for the customer. And I do believe the customer is going to be blown away by this. If I'm wrong, I have those 30-day returns at Amazon. And even though this is quite expensive, Amazon will still handle it no differently. And what I'm looking at is this right here. This is the QNAP TBS H574TX i5 version. There is an i3. The i5 version, it's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's not upgradable. And it takes 5 NVMe drives that are in little trays with 10 gig networking, which this customer won't use. Thunderbolt, this customer won't use. But they really do need that i5 because they're opening up a lot of databases that have sequential file openings. So even though they're opening one file, what's happening in the background is the database program they're using is opening several dozen files for that one. So when you get a couple of users doing that at the same time, it's taking up too many computer resources. It's not, or NAS resources. It's not a networking issue. It's not that their network's not fast enough. They don't have any bad networking equipment. The processor on that old Synology just cannot handle that as quickly as it used to, and they're having delays that are driving them crazy. So this should make the delays completely vanish and stay that way for a long time, unless the business doubles in size. And even then, it still might be more than enough. So this has these removable NVMe trays, which are quite unique, and it has 5 of them. Now these don't operate faster than *2 speed, so we don't have to spend a lot of money on high performance drives. What I'm thinking of doing is throwing 5 Samsung, the one I just showed you, the 970 EVO plus 2 terabyte. 5 of those in a RAID 5 will give us 8 terabytes of storage. They're barely using 2, so that gives them plenty of room to grow. It's a little tiny box that could literally sit on top of the Synology NAS, and they can shut that off and keep it as an emergency backup. But this is like a sixth of the size, and I think they're going to be really happy with it. I'm not aware of a NAS that is a turnkey solution out of the box with an i5, unless we get to Minisforum and Orico, which their operating systems are still in beta. So that's not going to solve this customer's problem today. So at least with QNAP, we're dealing with an established turnkey operating system that's been polished from a reputable manufacturer. And price-wise, you know, when you include the price of the drives plus sales tax, we're looking a little over $2,000. But for this business, that's really nothing. You know, if we were to put a regular server in there, they'd be spending twice that. Not to mention the maintenance and energy costs, and then a place to put it, right? So I truly believe they're going to be super happy with this. But just in case they aren't, free returns. Okay, so I'm still okay. And I think Sunday I'm going to cover this. We also have more content coming up from Emerald Computers. I have more of my interview that's still sitting in editing, and I'm still chopping that up in about 10-minute segments. So each piece I publish, it'll be right around the 10-minute mark. And it's some heavy editing with regards to fixing the video and audio, as well as cutting out the conversation to keep it on point, and simulating camera movements through crops and zooms. It's just a lot of work to get to those 10 minutes. And it's not work I enjoy doing, but it is work I enjoy having done. So I'm working on that. Plus, we have some more units from Emerald Computers to look at next week. So we're going to pepper that in among everything else. And then we'll see what other stuff arrives in the mail. We're expecting a few other things from manufacturers. We just have no idea when we're going to get them. So Sunday, we should be putting together that QNAP, getting it formatted, installed, and set up and ready to install for the client. Once it's installed at the client, we'll copy every file off of the Synology onto the QNAP. We'll give the QNAP the same name as the Synology on the network, and then we shut the Synology off, and then we don't have to fix any of the map shares. All of the computers will just go right to that. The end users will never know anything other than it's faster. I hope. That's the goal. So I hope you'll join us on Sunday for that. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll see you all again on Sunday, 1 o'clock as always. Until next time, bye for now.